It's 110% all day, everything. Let's go. Welcome to the show, baby. My guest today is Chanel. Nice to meet you. How are you today?
Great. Glad to be here. How are
Yeah,
you, Josh?
good.
That's
Thank you for being here. I understand you are studying yoga.
right.
Yes, and you're here to tell us a little bit about that. I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't know that there was any philosophy behind yoga, like studying wise.
Yeah. So the Western idea of yoga largely focuses on 1/8 of what yoga really is. It
Oh,
focuses
really?
on the third. So there are 8 limbs of yoga, which
Yeah.
is called Ashtanga, which you may have heard before.
Okay. Yeah.
Ashtha is eight, Anga is limbs. So Ashtanga yoga is the 8 limbs of yoga.
Uh-huh.
Asana is the third one. That's the one that means poses. It means
Okay.
that exercise.
Okay. So so there's Ashtanga is a branch name word for all of yoga?
Well, Ashtanga describes there are many different schools and paths of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Ashtanga describes the this concept of the 8 limbs, which are really like 8 steps to enlightenment of or like the point of what yoga is. Yoga
Okay.
means union, so it's the 8 steps to get there.
Is that is that in correlation with the different types of yoga that I've heard about? So, for instance, when I do yoga, I look up on YouTube a video that says Ashtanga yoga. So, and it's just like a certain set of movements, and there's different types of Ashtanga, and there's like a I guess a certain, what's the word I was looking for? I guess set of movements that you would do.
Sequence.
Sequence. There you go. Sequence of movements that you would do over and over again that are pretty much the same, just kind of variations of expert levels.
Yeah, so Ashtanga has also been it's been kind of commandeered. So Ashtanga really means the 8 limbs of yoga.
Okay, beautiful.
Ashtanga as a word has been
Actually,
commandeered to describe a particular school of yoga.
yes.
So that Ashtanga yoga that you're referring to, yes, is a particular school with particular sequences that you need to follow in a particular order. And that's what one sage has decided yoga is. That's the school that he's developed, but that's
What
not all of yoga.
what's a sage?
Um, Enlightened one, Buddha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are
I
there
mean,
many
so those
sages?
terms are kind of funny and interchangeable. There's like Buddha, sage, enlightened one, Swami. I mean,
Are there
and
many
I'm kind of
Buddhas?
fuzzy. Sorry.
Are there many Buddhas?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone can become a Buddha.
Ah, so Buddha wasn't just a dude.
There was an original Buddha.
There was
There
an
was the
original
first
Buddha,
Buddha.
and
There was
now
an
that's kind of
original
like an
Buddha, but now
enlightened one.
anyone can become a Buddha.
Okay, beautiful. What is so to become a Buddha? Do you have to journey along these 8 different steps?
Now we're conflating Buddha and enlightened one. So
Okay,
technically, Buddha doesn't mean enlightened. It's kind of one step below that.
okay. So do
But
you have to
yes,
become a Buddha in order to become enlightened, or can you skip past that by going through a different path?
depends who you ask, because even the Yoga Sutras will describe different methods. So there are different methods. One of them is largely focused on just devotion. One of them is largely focused on your actions. The Ashtanga Yoga really encompasses all of that.
Okay, okay. So if Ashtanga is the 8 steps, and so say I want to journey along these 8 steps, I'm starting this Ashtanga. Where does that start? Where does that go? So take me along this path.
So yeah, so they're the first 2 limbs, which are yama and niyama, describe. I call them the 10 commandments of yoga. They describe moral commandments, ethical laws, rules to live
Mm-hmm.
by. So these
Will you say
you
them one
need
more time?
to yama and niyama.
And niyama, yama,
Mm-hmm.
niyama. How do you spell that? Do you know?
Yama
Y A
and
M A. So
Niyama.
super super easy.
Yeah,
I like that. I spell phonetically, so I would have like, we're in the English language and we slap weird things together. Okay.
Sanskrit's easier than that.
Yes. I kind of like Sanskrit. I'm kind of getting used to hearing it, and you kind of I can't do it now, but while I'm listening to the video, I can pretty much I know what she's saying in Sanskrit. It's interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
when you get a hang on the poses.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay, so you got Yama and one more time,
Niyama.
Niyama. Okay, and these are the Ten Commandments. No, there's that just a reference.
It's an equivalency, yeah, an
Yes,
analogy. It's an
yes, analogy. There you
analogy,
go.
yeah. So they're basically you abide by them at all times when you're doing all of the other limbs.
Okay, I think you were telling me a little bit about this the other day. Which one of them we were discussing? The do no harm, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I had mentioned ahimsa. Ahimsa is the first yama.
okay.
And so the difference between the yamas and the niyamas are yamas are kind of societal laws, how you behave with others, and like social constraints.
Mm-hmm.
And then the niyamas are more self-management, self-governance, how you are with yourself.
Interesting. How many are there of each?
5 of each.
Five. Okay, it's actually 10. I thought not just an actual analogy. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
actually.
Do you, so? Just a side question. Do you know the history of this? Do you know when this was created? Was this created like before or after the Ten Commandments?
Way before.
Way
Long before.
before?
Long
Excellent.
before.
That's cool. That's
Thousands of
cool to
years
know.
before.
That's cool. I want to know.
Hmm.
Hmm.
At
Cause
least 2000 BC is the general
right,
time frame I see.
right, and the Bible doesn't go past like what 6,000 years ago, so that's 4,000 AD. So maybe.
Something like that.
I wonder when Moses was. Which actually, did you know that the? Thank you so much for the documentary, by the way. Sorry, we'll come back to this. I promise. I got it written down. We'll come back to it. But thank you for that documentary, by the way. I watched that last night, and it brought me to tears a couple times. And I'm not gonna lie, it was exactly what I needed at that moment in time of life. Like I think it was the universe syncing it up that I actually forgot about it until yesterday, and then I watched it. Because yesterday, my whole goal, I say, is to change the world, which is quite daunting. So, and I'm doing this, I'm writing a book, trying other things, doing lots of self-work on myself, tons of all these other things. And when you look at it in big picture, long term, it's a little bit overwhelming. And so, like, yesterday, I was looking at that, I was like, fuck. It's like, there's so much to be done. Like, holy shit, like, what like piece of cake that I bite off. And and then I watched that and I was like, oh, that's the piece of cake that I bit off. That's the whole point. That makes sense, and that's justifiable for anything that needs to be done. And it kind of like recentered me and brought me back in, and I appreciate that. Thank you. That was
Oh,
cool.
good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, that's a real grounding documentary for me too. I need to rewatch it.
Yes. For those of you who don't know, it's a documentary called I Am, and it's the director of Bruce Almighty, Ace
Tom
Ventura.
Shad.
Top. Yes, I'm so bad with names. What's his last name again? Say that again.
Shadyak.
Shotyak. Okay, I guess I was seeing that on the screen yesterday. That makes sense. Okay, yeah, it's really cool. So he pretty much got really rich, figured out he was unhappy, and then went on a quest to make a documentary about finding out what's wrong in the world, and then found out what's right in the world. I guess it's a documentary. It's not a really movie, so you can ruin it. And he found out that what's right with the world is actually love and connection, and the fact that we're all one. And the one thing that really tripped me the fuck out was the fact that like I had always had that thought, when you're drinking water or you're peeing or you're doing something, like, dude, that's the same water that, like Jesus drank, and, like Moses and the dinosaurs and everything. And so we're all one, but I don't know if that's true. So, but then in the documentary, they told that we're all connected through time and space through argon, which is a molecule on the thing that actually doesn't interact with any of the other molecules, and it's super like unchanging, in the same argon that's been here has been here forever. And the thing, like, each time you breathe in, you're breathing in like millions of particles of argon that other people throughout time and history, like I thought with the pee, they have been doing. That's fucking tripped out. Like, man, if that's not enough to prove that we're all one and connected, then I don't know what is. Like,
It's amazing how science just keeps reiterating that. Like we
yes.
already knew, but then we keep finding more and more reasons why like science just backs that up.
Yes, I love, and one of the ladies, she mentioned that she was like, for years and years and years, You know, we've had the spirituality and the science, and finally science is starting to wake up and realize that they look at like Eastern religions and they're like, shit, we were wrong the whole time. You guys were right. We kind of need to merge these ideas and figure out how they work together. It's tripped out. And man, he sorry for all the spoilers. He was in front of yogurt, and it had the sensors on it of certain types, and his thoughts and reactions and feelings towards certain things that are happening in life were actually making the bacteria inside of the yogurt react in a certain way to like be readable on a fucking meter.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? And the part too about sitting in traffic, and how when you're sitting in traffic and everyone else is sitting in traffic and you all want to be angry about sitting in traffic, and then you all just kind of stew in each other's anger, that you create an energy field around you.
I missed that part, but yes, that makes sense. Yeah, because you feel, wow, yeah, we're all just vibing along, man. That's why you can feel people's vibes. Like I can feel your vibes even though we're not in the same room or city. I don't even think we're in the same city, so that's crazy. Yeah, I was listening to another podcast that was set up the same way on a Zoom call, and he was talking about the same kind of human connection. He was like, look, dude, I can do this. Reach my hand out and you can feel it. He's like, watch. He's like, wow, I can feel it. Like to a certain degree, you know, you can feel the sensation of that like human connection, like across any distance of time, because there actually is no space in between us when you break it down.
There really isn't. I mean, get into quantum mechanics. You can make this, you know, proton spin, and then the one over here 6 miles away will spin too, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Or the experiment where when one mouse on one side of the earth learns how to do a maze, another mouse on the other side of the earth can learn the same exact maze faster. Like,
I haven't heard that one. That's super cool.
That's tripped out. So, I mean, if mice are connected, then humans must be inextricably connected. Oh man,
yes.
Which it's so crazy. I've been learning different things from different sources and different people, and everybody's saying the same exact thing, and just like a little bit different words, you know. Like I'm reading this book called A Course in Miracles right now, which it's basically it's some person had a like crazy dreams, and Jesus like spoke through them, and they wrote this like 600-page like most profound, insane, truthful book of all time. And it's basically saying like, you know, the creator, the God, we are one because they created us, and anything that you can view that is actually negative or not as what's supposed to be happening or different than what's happening is actually just a separation from the truth that we're oneness and you are one with God. And it's a different, and it like it calls everything that is separate from that oneness ego, and it labels it as the whole thing is ego. So the ego is based in fear, and it was created out of separation from the truth of oneness with your creator. But it's talking about this in Jesus Christ, you know, the Holy Spirit and God words. But then I pick up this, like you just picked up a book, I'm sure, same experience. I picked up another book that I read. It's called I Hope I Screw This Up by Kyle Cease. Have you heard of that? And
no, I remember seeing it on your Instagram the other day.
Oh, okay. Yes, and he was going through it, and he was saying the same exact shit. And just like weird words, he was like, I prefer to call it the mind. You know, some people call it the ego. And he said the same exact words without using the Jesus word. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's incredible actually. So in yoga philosophy, so we have this text called the Yoga Sutras, which are basically the sage named Patanjali, so many thousands of years ago, took yoga and said, I need to figure out how to make this into like a step-by-step guide, how to make this accessible for the average person to do.
Right.
So he like took all of his knowledge of yoga and like made a step-by-step guide. So each sutra is like a tidbit of wisdom.
Okay.
So there's actually a sutra or a few sutras I know that very explicitly talk about how the source of pain is ignorance. Any type of pain is ignorance. And it's whether that's ignorance, forgetting your true nature, forgetting that you're not a meat suit, but you're just residing inside your meat suit, or ignorance, forgetting that other people are also you, just in other meat suits.
Oh man, yes, that one's a good
Whatever,
realization.
ignorance is the root of all suffering. That's yoga philosophy.
Okay. Ignorance is the root of all suffering. Is that, I like that. You can't fucking argue with that. Huh. Okay. So but that is just one sutra. So ignorance is all suffer is the
Yeah,
cause of all
well,
suffering is just one sutra, or is that the basis of yoga philosophy?
ooh. Well, I mean, all of the sutras are what
A
make up yoga
basis.
philosophy.
Okay, so they're each equal.
So they're each components of yoga philosophy.
Okay.
Yes.
And are the sutras, how are the sutras connected to the Ashtangas?
The sutras describe Ashtanga yoga. The sutras are basically,
They're like
it's
what
a
you find within
manual.
it while you're going through the 8 things?
Say again?
So while you're working through your 8 steps of the Ashtangas, you're like reading sutras to explain the 8 steps?
Well, the sutras are like tidbits of knowledge.
Okay.
So there are hundreds of them.
Okay.
It's really just like one of the sutras is the very first sutra, for example, is this is the discipline of yoga. Just the statement of this is yoga. That's the first
Right.
sutra,
Right.
right? So they're just statements.
Hmm.
So there is a sutra which I don't have pulled up that is in essence the root of all suffering. And there are also different words for suffering. There are different kinds of suffering that English has trouble with that Sanskrit describes very well.
Yes. That makes
But
sense.
is ignorance or Maya.
Okay.
Ignorance.
Maya is ignorance. Okay. So let's circle back around. So we're in the Ashtangas, and within those we have the yamis and the namis. I probably butchered that.
Yama
Yama.
and niyama. And
Niyama.
English will mess this up a lot. There's not supposed to be an S on the end. It's plural yama, plural
Okay.
niyama.
Yama miyama. Yama miyama.
Yeah.
Okay. Got that. And so, uh, just so I know where we are. So we're in Ashtanga, and we got the 8 things. How do these yamas fit into the 8 things? Is this one of
So-
them? Sorry.
Yes, the yamas are the first limb.
Okay.
Niyama is the second limb.
Okay.
And there's asana, which is the poses,
Okay.
so on and so forth. So they're separate limbs, they're separate concepts, but how the limbs are divided. The first 2 limbs are like moral commandments, moral laws. The next 3 or 4 have to do with practice, have to do with preparation of the outward physical body. So the asana, pranayama, which is breathing,
Mm-hmm.
mindful breathing, dharana and
difficult.
dhyana, which are different levels of meditation,
Mm-hmm.
and then samadhi, which is the ultimate state that we're going for.
Okay. So let's. I wanna break this down all the way if you can.
Yeah.
So let's go back to number 1. So the yama. What are the 5?
So they're ahimsa.
Uh-huh.
Ahimsa meaning non-harming, non-violence, compassion for all creatures,
Yes.
human or not. The second one is satya, which means truthfulness, thou shalt not lie.
Okay. I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a good
The
one.
next is asteya, which is non-stealing, thou shalt not steal.
Okay.
Brahmacharya, which traditionally would be interpreted as like chastity or continence, but we could interpret it more as like a mindful restraint of your energy. Be mindful where you expend your energy,
Yes. Yeah. I love
especially
that.
sexual energy, but really any energy, because it's all one,
Yeah. I mean, it's all the same thing. It all comes from the same place.
right? And then the next is a parigraha, which is like covetedness, non-possessiveness, non-hoarding.
Some fucking harsh rules, man. That's some, I mean, not harsh, but that's all encompassing, I guess would be a better word. All
Yeah, we're only
encompassing.
halfway through too.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, let's keep going. What's the, man, you say it.
Well, now we're moving to niyamas.
Niyamas, which is step number 2 of Ashtanga.
Right. So
Okay.
so to reiterate, the first five I just listed have to
Yes,
do
please.
with how you interact with others, how you interact with your world, your environment, with all other energy beings.
Okay, I like
And
that.
then
Tell the truth.
the
Have you?
next
I'm sorry to
one,
interrupt. Have you heard of the Four Agreements?
yes, I
Yes. Have
have.
you
It's
read it?
Toltec wisdom.
Yes. Have you read it?
I have not read yet.
You should definitely get on it. It's $13 and you can read it in a couple hours. And it will change your life. I swear. Oh man. It's actually the thing that set me on this whole path.
Is it
It's
really?
yes. Yeah. I mean, not it's to a degree. I mean there was many compounding factors, of course, but this was the one that was like, you know, do you need to
So
get
what
something?
about it? What are the four agreements?
Oh man. It's be impeccable with your word. Don't make any assumptions. Um Man, I have it saved in my phone. I spent so much time. I created my own 6 rules to live a good life, and I spent so much time trying to remember those things. I forgot these ones, and I
I
gave
hear that. Oh, be impeccable with your word.
be
Don't
impeccable
take
with your
anything
word.
personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best.
You have it. Yes, excellent. There you go. Yeah, those are. It's saying the same fucking words, same kind of commandments, all encompassing. You know, it kind of works for every situation in life, and it's beautiful. And wow, so
Yeah.
Toltec
And
wisdom,
I
Yogi
mean,
wisdom.
we could really get into it too, because it's not quite as simple as like asteya is thou shalt not steal, but
Yeah.
thou shalt not steal what? It doesn't just refer to material possessions. Thou shalt not steal other people's time,
Yo,
attention,
if you can
love.
dive into these, let's go. I mean, and if you want to touch on the one that we disagreed on, we can do that too.
Let's do that. I
Okay.
mean, that's where I would start anyway. So with
Yeah, of course.
ahimsa, which is basically, compassion, non-harming, non-injury in
Yes.
word, deed, and thought.
Okay.
So deed is the easiest one to talk about. So don't hurt things, don't
Mhm.
hurt people, don't hurt other energetic beings.
Yes.
And I think where the difference is that ahimsa means it's empathetic, emphatic, my goodness,
That's a
on
good word.
the notion that you are not more important as an energy being than any other energy being.
Mhm.
So don't, and it also makes a point that even if you don't personally commit the act, you can still cause harm, even if you don't do it with your own hands.
Yes.
So,
And that's you're specifically referring to eating animals, right?
I am referring to eating animals.
Yes, I
Yes.
respect that opinion. I think I was having some thoughts about this because I'm new to this show and I'm starting out. So I was thinking about how I wanted to go about those kinds of situations in this, and I was thinking I would like when it comes to a situation like this, because I'm not an expert and because I cannot pull scientific facts out of my ass to back up any of the beliefs that I have. I would rather let you express your full opinion while investigating it without expressing any of my own counter opinions. So if you would like to dive into the way that you feel about that, why you think that, anything that you would like to say about that, I'm here to simply inquire to learn more about your thinking, not to argue with you.
Sure. No, great. Yeah. I mean, that's really the core of it, though.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much more to elaborate on. Just don't harm other energy beings, because you're
Yes.
not more important. And I think that ties
Yes.
into other principles in yoga that have to do with the separation of ego from. So there's the mind, the body, and the soul. So there's the separation between the soul and the body, which most of us can understand.
Yeah.
But then the separation between the mind and the soul, we have a harder time understanding. So even those of us who feel like we have an understanding of, like, I'm not my meat suit, you might still think I am my mind, though. And that's not actually true either. And I think if we can make that distinction.
That was fucking profound. Will you say that again?
Even those of us who are comfortable with and understand the concept of being separate from your meat suit, separate from your body,
Yeah. Yeah.
we still conflate the mind with the self.
Yeah.
We still
Wow.
might think I am
Bam.
my mind, or like I am my personality, you know, versus I am my soul. And I think it's that ego. That's a more subtle ego. It's
Yeah.
very obvious ego when it's like I am my body.
Yeah.
That's very obvious. We can see that. But then that's a more subtle ego that I think even a lot of wise people still struggle with.
Right.
And I think it's that ego particularly, which
I've
makes it very
never.
hard for us to distinguish ourselves from other animals.
Yes. Okay.
And it's that's the Maya, that's the ignorance that, in my opinion, is the perpetrator of meat eating, of
Right.
harming,
Right.
of suffering.
Okay.
Like I
So
said, Maya is the root of suffering.
Maya is the root of suffering, which is ignorance. Right.
Right.
Right. So I had a cool point. So my first thought on that is I've never heard anybody break the ego down into multiple levels. I've never heard that before, and that is brilliant. Did you come up with that yourself?
No, yoga
No?
philosophy did.
That's yoga philosophy.
That's yoga philosophy.
Fucking A, man. So there's two levels of the ego, the body ego and the subtle mind ego. And the subtle mind ego is that dangerous bitch.
And that's where even wise men tend to stay. Yeah.
Okay. And in that, so for me as an example, so you would say that I have gotten maybe past the meat suit, you know, ego, maybe a little bit, I guess. And then even though, you know, you see all this is where your contradiction comes into of what you had to say to me, is where like I say love and light and all of these different things, and I'm coming from this place that's seemingly exactly the same place as you, but then there's that huge fundamental split of where you think I might be stuck in that mind ego, whether as you've gone to that past, you know, the spirit ego, and you have enlightened yourself past needing to eat meat.
Or I'm
harming.
at least aware of it.
Yes.
I won't claim any level of enlightenment,
Okay. Yeah,
but I'm at
that's
least
fair.
aware of it.
Yes. Yeah. I guess you can't claim any enlightenment because it's a constant process as well. Just like happiness or anything else. It's fucking strange. Right. that was the craziest, sorry to trail off, but that was one of the craziest realizations that I ever had in my entire life, was that happiness, like I have had a couple girlfriends, you know, you get in a breakup and then at the end of it you're like fuck, and you're just like brooding, and then like, you know, then you get better and then, you know, it's all good. Then it happened again and I was like this is fucking stupid, like none of this has to happen, like and then I started this journey of looking into things, and I came to this realization of, or I didn't come to this realization, I guess many other people came to the realization and told me of this realization that, you know, happiness actually there's no aha moment, there's no like fuck, I did all this work, I did this meditation and boom, I'm a happy like person. It's nope, I'm happy right now, and like I choose to live in this exact moment, and anything that's making you unhappy is you arguing with reality, and like reality's God, man, you can't do that.
You're actually kind of describing one of the niyamas right now, which is cool. You're describing one I haven't gotten to yet.
Excellent. Okay. Do you think you've covered what you wanted to on that the ego stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to when it comes to animal eating in particular. Like even most of us who understand the non-harming, like you're not just going to go out and like bully, or, you know, you're not going to cause unnecessary excessive harm. It's that connection, or that identification is what yoga philosophy uses, that identity of the self with the mind.
Yes.
Which
is what I'm like, that's the book I'm reading right now, The Course of Miracles. Is the whole entire purpose is like repetitively saying that exact same thing to you over and over again in like ridiculously different ways for 600 pages. It's fucking crazy. So maybe by the end of it, there'll something be different. I can't tell you that I necessarily agree with that at this moment, but I can say that I will investigate that personally with an open heart. That sounds like an interesting thing that I've never heard of, breaking the ego down into two parts and having like thinking that you burst through one level and need to go through the next. So that's
Well,
fucking
to
cool.
an extent, you do already have an understanding of this, though, because you already understand that we are all energy,
Right.
right? So we are all just energy. So why is you being, this ball of energy inside of you? Why does that make you any more of an I than it makes, a cow any more of an I?
Well,
So
I mean,
so
well, I don't know. It's like what happens, I mean, up until recent history, we were getting eaten too on a regular basis. That's why we killed all the bears in California. And
so
there's a
ahem,
bear on the
but
flag.
yeah, no,
That
that
was
it
more of
does
a
make a
joke than
distinction
a,
between
yeah.
harming and just um goodness. I mean, if I were in the woods and needed to eat and there were a boar and it's either die or eat the boar, yoga philosophy wouldn't have an issue with me eating the boar. I mean,
Oh,
survival is its own thing.
yeah, so it's simply because I have the option to only eat vegan
Then you're necessarily
now.
causing excess harm by not.
Okay, so I actually just had a thought, and I don't, other than the surface level answer, I have no way to answer any of your questions that come after what I'm about to say. But it would be a good, interesting topic to go look up after this. Because I was talking to my brother about this the other day, and he can spit the facts at you. He has done all the research, and he can pull up the things, and he knows the scientific words of cells and things and all of the different. It's beautiful. But he was talking to me and he was like, actually, the podcast that I recorded right before this, the way that it ended at the very end, he was like, veganism is bad for the planet, period. And the reason is biodynamic farming. Beyond, I know the basic idea behind that. I don't. Biodynamic farming is the reason why veganism is bad for the earth. But I don't know for sure. It's just what he said.
Well, so here's the thing. Vegans do not advocate that like animals don't exist or are not like a part of our communities and our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So we can farm and have animals, but just not kill them prematurely to eat and not rape them and make more of them to eat. Like
Yes. Oh wow!
you
I
can
never
have
even thought
like
about
we
the
have
raping.
pets. You can have animals for a farm because you
Yes.
need the cow to eat the grass and then shit out the grass and then regenerate the soil and all this stuff. We can still do that
Yeah.
without harming the animals.
That's an interesting thought. It's an interesting
It would
thought.
be
So
it
we
would
should
be
eat them.
complicated to scale
Yeah.
because no one's tried it because
Of
it's more
course.
cost effective and people's taste buds like it better the way we're doing it.
Right.
Um,
I'm not even worried.
but
I'm not. We can't even. We're too stupid for that. I don't know. But no. But it's an interesting thought of. Um, I had a thought. It just left. Yeah, I totally fucking forgot. Well, I think that's something. That's a really good topic, though. That's like veganism it's so interesting, and I appreciate the morality of it. Like I appreciate the fact that you want to do no harm. Like that's really cool. I guess it is kind of just like that. Like, girl, I'm a man, and meat makes me feel good, and I like it, so fuck it. I guess there is that element of ego to it. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's just like I fucking love meat, bro. Why would I not eat
yeah,
it? It's interesting.
yeah, and I mean
Which
that's ingrained.
which
That's
is that
just
mind ego, right? Okay.
and that would take so you're touching on a lot of the niyamas right now actually.
Ooh, but we're not. We're only on the second yama, right?
Oh goodness, we are only on the second yama. Okay,
Okay,
we'll get
let's
back.
go to the third.
um well that was
I mean, we got
technically
plenty
that
of
was the
time.
first yama, and now the second yama is satya.
Oh yeah, because the first one, yes, and we're on the second one. Yes, got you. Satya. What is that?
So
That's
satya is
steel.
truthfulness.
Truthfulness.
That's a saya.
Hostia. It's not Spanish. It doesn't correlate that well.
No.
Okay. Okay. So speak your truth. I like that. That actually, when you said that, that's what pinged my brain for the four agreements of be impeccable with your word, which is part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's about truthfulness. It also understands that like truthfulness as an absolute is harmful. So you got to balance it with ahimsa in the same way that like whoever was hiding Anne Frank would have been doing himsa, which is harm, had they told the Nazis where she was, you know? So they were being
So you're
moral and
saying,
lying.
so it's like you're addressing a contradiction in the things, is what you're doing. So like there's a small
Well, I'm
contradiction of
showing
be
the balance.
truthful. Oh, balance. So you got to have the yin and yang, right,
I'm
within
showing the
all of this.
balance. Yeah, because
Ah,
any one of
it's a
these
better
principles
word.
as an absolute would be harmful. Because like how could I, in the same way that I wouldn't be able to tell a lie if I'm hiding someone in my basement that, you know, this person who's asking me is going to kill them?
Yeah.
Like, no, of course I'm going to lie about it.
Where did you get that example? Did you come up with that example yourself?
Yeah. That
Yes.
one I did come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that was a great example. Like the analogy you just made of the hiding somebody. Wow, and Frank, that was beautiful. Okay, I understand what you're saying perfectly. Okay, so
It's
what
also
other parts of
truthfulness,
this?
like your intentions. It's truthfulness. I mean, to yourself, it's authenticity.
Yeah,
It's really transparency. So, like, the way that I would put it in my colloquial terms is like, just be authentic, be transparent.
that's hard sometimes. You know,
It is, but it's a moral commandment. They're not supposed to be easy.
God, that's a heavy statement. It's a moral commandment. I command you, man. Do you heavily live by these things?
I do my
Yeah,
best.
you do your
Yeah.
best. But yeah, none
Yeah.
of us are perfect. I don't complete all of the things that I say that I should every day. You know, it's a journey of learning and experience. It's quite interesting. Starting.
Yeah.
Okay. So what other parts to that is there to being truthful? How else can you dive into that?
I mean, that's really most of that. I mean, it's really just being authentic, being truthful with yourself and with others.
How do
Which,
you take steps to be authentic within yourself?
well, what you're getting at is now getting into a niyama, because the difference between the yamas and the niyamas are societal laws versus how you govern yourself.
Well,
So
what
there is
about just
a
a personal
niyama
question?
that has to do with self-governance, that has to do with authenticity. That's called svadhyaya.
Sfed, yeah, yeah. Okay, but what if we like a personal question rather than a yoga question? What do you do within yourself? Other like not follow one of the yoga commandments that the niyama, but what do you do within yourself to be transparent?
I feel that, you know, this is a good time to say um, my brain wiring actually works in this way. I don't I don't tend to do, you know, white lies or um, I'm autistic, so I don't actually have the inclination to be not transparent. So that's a tricky question for me. I
Oh
just am
man,
authentic.
that's really cool. Well, hell,
Yeah.
fuck it then. Well, then
Yeah.
I would my viewpoint on that when you say it that way sounds like that somebody gave that to you as a gift so that you could give it to other people.
Sure. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
like
if
that.
because like if everybody else has to work extremely fucking hard, like it's so hard for me to be transparent. Like to talk about the fact that I was struggling with the overall picture of the overwhelmingness of the thing that I've decided to do. You know, I actually had to debate in my head before this whether I would be comfortable enough speaking about that, which is weird. You know, like that's one of the things that I'm trying to do with like my whole page and everything is, you know, to break down some of the stigmas around being woo woo and you know like opening up and being spiritual and being emotional, especially as a bald man who works out, you know, with tattoos, you know, like
Yeah.
that's not normal, you know. As a man, we're not taught to do any of these things, and it's super like
Sure.
not cliche, it's super taboo to to take part of this. Like most people are like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? That shit's weird. But at the end of the day, I have a feeling that this is the fucking answer, and like self work, all of these different things. It's so interesting, and that's so fucking cool. What else does that affect within you? Like, as far as the yoga stuff, like how does your inability to not be transparent help you in other ways with all of these things?
I mean, in truthfulness, a lot of the questions you're asking, I can't answer without talking about the other namas and niyamas. Okay. So can we should get through it.
We can keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, so we're on number 3, right?
Yeah, number 3 is asteya, so okay. Non-stealing. The real easy one is just don't steal objects. More complicated is don't steal just anything that isn't rightfully yours. So with the exception of gifts, don't steal time, don't steal attention, don't steal labor, anything like that. Like anything that isn't willfully given to you, and willfully is a key word there. Anything that's not willfully given to you, you're stealing.
Right.
So
could you give me an example of stealing time or labor?
I mean, theoretically, let's say that I didn't truly want to be on this podcast, but you kind of told me, or you guilted me into it, or you asked me to anyway. You would be stealing my time and my labor. I'm not willfully giving it to you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that would be you're committing asteya by doing that, or steya by doing that. I mean, you're not. That was an example.
Right, you're committing an asteya. Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. So, is the don't steal? It's pretty simple, pretty plain and true, right there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's number 4?
Brahmacharya. So that's the more complicated one that people traditionally interpret as chastity, continence, restraint of sexual energy.
Yes.
So we could take that even built into the traditional sense of that. It allows for obviously procreation, mm-hmm. but how we can understand it in 2020 is really just being mindful about where you spend your energy. So in the same way, let's take that example again. I would be committing brahmacharya should I really not want to do this right now, but I'm expending my energy on it anyway.
Right.
So it's really just restraint of energy, and I mean especially sexual, because that's just the most intimate, that's the most potent, expression of your energy. Like that's just an incredibly energetic, experience to have.
Yes. Well, I actually learned the other day that when a guy ejaculates, it actually depletes your testosterone by 50% for 7 days. And it takes
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it takes 7 days for your testosterone to replenish itself. Like which is crazy.
Yeah.
And in the cause of and if you're actually doing that all the time and you're not taking rest times, then it's actually not an increase of testosterone that makes men irritable, it's an increase of estrogen.
So we're familiar with the concept of a platonic friendship.
Yes.
Most of us don't actually know what that means. A platonic friendship isn't just a friend that you're just friends with, which is what we tend to use it as. A platonic friendship is a friendship where there is an immense amount of energy, of sexual energy between the two of you, mm-hmm. but you purposefully withhold. And by withholding, I mean, you're withholding it for yourself. I mean, you're not expending it. I mean, it's spiritually, it grows you by doing that.
It what's you? Grows you. Okay. I thought you said big rose. I was like, what fancy word did you just pull out of your ass? Okay. I was like, big rose. That's a good word though.
Even Plato, understood this concept of brahmacharya.
How?
I mean, he coined platonic friendship. Plato that's where that idea comes from.
Look at you, man. Okay, learning so many things. Plato, platonic friendship, and I've honestly never heard that before. Is that specifically
We pretty much just took the term platonic
platonic
friendship and
friendship?
like we just use it
Yeah, we
colloquially
just
for
use
what
it.
we want to use it for. But
Right.
what Plato actually described in his philosophy, when he described a platonic friendship, he didn't call it that because his name was Plato and he wasn't that egotistical. But when he described this concept of a platonic friendship, it was brahmacharya. It was you're withholding sexual energy. It's not someone that you don't want to have sex with. It's someone you do, but you're withholding it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's smart. That's cool. That's a good philosophy. I think, you know, I don't even know. That's just an interesting thought. Like it's I guess it is a super super important thing to be careful where you expend that energy and like who you spend that time with and you know, I guess from seeing friends, you know, overexpend that energy on a drastic amount, you know, it kind of wears on them after a while. It's like, okay, bud, I see you. Like, you know, it's
It's not
honestly,
fulfilling in the way that we think it is. It truly is
yeah,
depleting.
yeah. It's more, it looks more like the cycle of gorge eating and like getting, you know, like if you eat for problems, you know, like Fat Bastard and fucking Austin Powers. Have you seen that movie? No? Oh my
No.
god. Okay, so have you seen any of the Austin Powers? Do you know what it is? It's
I
the
know what it is, but no.
Okay, so it's comedy. It's a kind of spoof on James Bond. It's like this funny British like comedy of a guy, and one of the bad guys' names is Fat Bastard, and he's in bed and he's eating, and he's like, it's just a vicious cycle. I eat and then I get depressed, and then I eat some more, and then he said something funny to add on to that, but I forgot. But that's just it's the same concept of, you know, you go do this expenditure of energy, you go do this with a bunch of different people, it's unfulfilling, and then you get nothing out of it, and by the end of it you're just it actually makes you more sad, so you keep trying to do it. It's like cocaine. It's like any addiction, I guess. It's like the same thing. Be careful where you spend your fucking energy. Don't spend your energy, you know, because I guess sexual energy it's just lighting off dopamine, serotonin, and all of the other shit in your brain, like on a crazy exponential level, you know. And then you go do heroin, or you go do cocaine, or you go do any of these things, or you fucking eat cake all day. You're lighting up the dopamine and the serotonin, and you're expending your energy. Shit, man. Shit. That's crazy. I
We
love
don't have
this.
an unlimited supply. I mean,
Yeah.
it is everywhere and it is all of us, but that doesn't mean that we get to covet it. I mean, that would be my next thing as a parigraha, non-covetedness, non-hoarding. Like, you don't think that,
So that's number 5 is Paragraha?
yeah, parigraha is
Paragraha. Okay.
parigraha. Non-coveted is not hoarding.
Not hoarding.
Or you can kind of derive it to mean charity. Like if you have more than what other people don't, you know, only take what you need, basically.
Yeah, that I think that was a pillar point in actually the documentary, that the I Am documentary. He was describing how nothing in nature takes more than what it needs. You know, like a tree only soaks up the nutrients that it needs. You know, a lion only kills one gazelle. But humans, you know, we take way more than we need. And then he made the analogy of, you know, the only other thing that we have a really direct example of that emulates what a human does to the earth is fucking cancer.
Yeah. And, you know, I love that you just said that, you know, nothing else in nature takes more than what it needs. And that brings me to a really good point, which is that these rules are not arbitrary. These rules are in our nature. It's to bring us back to our truest selves.
Mm-hmm.
So it is our truest selves to not, you know, be coveting, to not hoard, to not steal, to not lie. It is actually our truest natures to be this way, just like it is for trees, not to take more, you know, nutrients from the soil than they need.
Right.
So this is, in a way, selfish. Like, I'm trying to make myself my best self by doing this.
Right. Right. And it's that idea of when you give, you actually have more. And the only way to keep is to give away. That's one of the things that I've been learning in a Course of Miracles is like, he's like, the only way that you can keep this knowledge is by giving it away to people as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which, like, the more people who have it which I guess actually builds into like that documentary is fucking crazy, man. Like the whole that we just need it's literally exactly what I've been looking for. It kind of put it all into words of that we just need to wake up. Like it's going to take a shift in consciousness. The whole idea that we were talking like one mice, the other mice. What was the example that you gave?
The one neutron getting spun, and then
Neutron.
6 miles away, the other neutron gets spun, or whatever a subatomic
Yeah.
particle is.
So as you know, you speak about this and I speak about this, you know, these words, these voices, it's going into the universe, and like at least one fucking person is going to listen to this, and that person is probably gonna, like, even if they never talk about it, you know, it's within them, and that's gonna ripple without throughout the world, and that's just us. Like we probably might get 2 views, you know, you have no idea. But, you know, think about somebody else who has millions of views and they speak about something and it actually has a ripple effect across the whole fucking earth. And if that just happens enough times, like if enough people, you know, open their eyes. In the documentary, it was saying they were analyzing deer herds, and they found that there'd be like 3 water holes nearby, and it's really hard for them to decide when to go to the water hole as a group, because, you know, if they go too soon, then some people might not be thirsty, and if they go too late, then people might be too thirsty and actually that was interesting and actually not be able to keep up with the group, or you know, then you got to worry about predators when predators might actually be at the watering hole. And so then they were saying that the scientists predicted that the deer with the big horns who were doing all the fighting at one point or another would say, "Yo guys, I picked a hole. We're going this way. Follow me." But what happened was, it was actually all the other deers, one by one, would unanimously vote by pointing with their head in the direction of the waterhole that they wanted to go. And the moment that 51% of the deer pointed their head at the same direction, within moments, all of the deers turned around and started going. And the big males who were in the back, like really confused as to what was going on. That's
incredible.
fucking, oh man, nature is crazy. It's fucking,
And we're no different.
yeah, no, we're no different.
We're no different.
Yeah, democracy is built into us, and as soon as 51% of us wakes up, then, you know, the rest of us will. So like we just got to get to that 51%, man, which is what, like 4 billion people.
Oh, goodness.
Oh man.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We just got to do it before we destroy ourselves. Oh boy. Okay. So we're at the nyamas.
Oh, nom, nom, nom. Niyamas.
Niyamas. Got it. I was getting closer. I knew it was this knee something. Have you seen Monty Python? I've seen Monty Python. Oh man, you're one of those people who don't watch movies?
I don't remember movies.
You don't remember movies?
It has to do with the autism. I don't remember any movies.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Man, I like have a reference for every situation in life to a movie. I can quote movies.
That's a superpower to me. That sounds like such a superpower.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I would never be able to do that.
That's cool. But I bet you money that, like, you do have a superpower that I don't have, which is transparency.
Oh, big money.
Oh man, I'd rather fucking have that one. I think that's way more important than we're calling movie lines here. Okay, so niyamas, right?
Right. Yeah.
Niyamas. I got it. Okay. Yeah. So what's number 1?
The first one is saucha.
Saucha,
which means cleanliness.
Okay.
So saucha.
And these are self commandments.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Saucha.
Yeah. So even if you live in a cave, no one else around, like these are still laws that you need to live by.
Okay.
So saucha, which has 2 levels. There's the external and the internal. So there's, showering, and also just making sure your environment is clean. Mm-hmm. And all of this has to do with respect for the self that is inside of you. It's not that we're conflating the body with you. It's not that you're cleaning yourself when you know, practice saucha. It's just about respect for the abode in which you live.
Right, like the Christian of this is your holy temple of God and treat it as such. Right.
Exactly.
Or
yeah. So saucha.
You can go.
So saucha applies to your environment and your body as well as your mind. So that's when we talk about like impure thoughts,
right.
And not just harmful thoughts, because that's ahimsa, but just unclean thoughts.
Oh, so cleanliness goes deep into your mind. That's a heavy one. Okay.
And asana too, which is the poses, the actual exercise that we think of as yoga. That's internal saucha. You are cleansing your body internally when you're performing yoga. Just by like you're, moving your lymphatic system around and stretching your muscles and like all that stuff. You're cleansing internally.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I actually, the post that I had today about cold showers was talking about the lymphatic system and how it cleans out your body. So, bam. Okay, got it.
Bam.
Full circle. Excellent. Okay, so cleanliness within your brain, within your physical body, and within the physical realm around you. Interesting. I like that because I have a thing that I like to tell people, or from my page. It's when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you got to do, I mean, if you don't have to pee, is make your bed. So before you do anything else in the day, make your fucking bed, make it really nice. And in my words, I call that setting the tone for your day. And the way that I got that was I played football for like 10 years. And my football coach always used to say, for the first play of the game, I want you to go out there and I want you to hit them so fucking hard, like so fucking hard, hurt them so badly that when they hit the ground, they don't want to hit you again for the rest of the game. So go out there and set the tone of the game. So I don't play football anymore because I like to protect my noggin. But when you wake up every day, you have the opportunity to set your tone for the day. And I like to do that by making my bed, and that's like, it's nice, it's neat, it's clean, it's ready to go. And then you're nice, neat, clean, and ready to go for the day inside your head. It's interesting.
And that concept can be applied to all of the yamas and the niyamas. The whole point is setting the tone for, alignment.
Oh, man.
The whole point.
Man.
For setting the tone. That's why we have moral observances.
Okay. Excellent. I really like that. All of this is setting the tone for like enlightenment. Ooh. Okay. What's the next one?
The next one is tapas.
Tapas.
So tapas just means self-discipline. So basically, none of these rules will work, if you don't discipline yourself to follow them.
Right.
That's really, it's just like self-governance.
Yes, that's rule number 6 of my 6 rules to live a good life is self-discipline. Right. And I always say...
And then you can derive...
Sorry,
you can derive from that, like, just be consistent.
Yeah.
So don't follow your rules sometimes and then not sometimes, just be consistent to follow your rules, have to self-discipline.
That shit's fucking hard. The consistency thing is hard. Like, I fucking struggle with consistency a lot. Like I'm really consistent comparatively to your average American, but comparatively to be where I would like to be as a human, I'm. For instance, today is the 90th day of a 90-day human optimization challenge that I gave myself for shits and giggles, which was actually, it wasn't for shits and giggles. The goal was to see how fit I could get, number 1, and number 2, to change my relationship with food, because I was raised to eat bullshit. Like, we went to IHOP all the time, McDonald's all the time, and I was that kid who would just keep eating dessert, bring it, keep going. I could drink like a 6-pack of soda like that, in a day. It was bad. So I was just lucky I never got fat. So, but I have had a horrible relationship with food my whole life, and I've recently, in the past 3 years, been interested in being healthy. And within the past year, like seriously try to crack down and like change like my habits and the way that I interact with food and stuff. And so it just like fucking yo-yo, man. Just, you do it good for a month and you do it bad for a month. You do it good for a month, do it bad for a month. So I set this 90-day challenge, and even with that, like, I wasn't perfect. Like, for 90 days, I couldn't do it for 90 days. Like, that's crazy. Consistency is the hardest thing that I've ever heard of in the whole world. I mean, I can count how many times I ate, and like, it was little things, but like still, like, why is it so difficult for humans to be consistent for even 90 days with something as simple as just eating the way that you say that you would like to eat?
It's a great question. It's a great question. And I just want to make a cool point that one of my superpowers is that that's easier for me. Like, I work on routines, so I am consistent. Man, like, I practice my asana, my yoga every day, and and it doesn't even feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like discipline. It just is what I do.
See, that's cool. It's just what I do is the secret. And I've heard that from a few people, obviously that didn't have your superpower, but that, they would say, when you're out to eat with a group of people and somebody offers you food, so that you don't eat, instead of saying I can't eat that, or I don't want to eat that, or I want to eat that but I shouldn't, you say I don't eat that, which is it's so hard to do that. I have yet to successfully do that, like be somewhere and like I've been presented, I'm always like, no, I can't eat that, damn it. It's really
like
cool,
the
though.
difference between being on a diet and like having a lifestyle. It's like, is this what you're doing because you're following rules, or is it like just because it's what you do?
Right, which is what I was trying to instill, because I want to be healthy, but it's sugar and carbs for me, and I'm sure for fucking 70% of America, is a straight legitimate addiction, so it's just that consistency is really hard, but that's a good mantra. And I think it's probably really helpful to step back and have all of these other different pillars and sutras and different things, and yamas that all come together and support each other, rather than just with that one thing of right. Because any of these standalone is harmful. I like that. It all circles back around.
Because everything's a balance. Yoga knows that everything is a balance. Any of these by itself, just anything as an absolute, is harmful.
Yes. Well, just a little further off the trail here. Just a random question. What? Shit. I just lost it. What did you just say? What was the last thing you just said?
Oh goodness. That anything as an absolute is harmful?
No.
Before that?
No. It's cool. Let's keep going. Let's forget about it. I'm not gonna. If I come back to me, it was a off-topic question. So if it comes back, I'll ask it. So what's the next one?
Svadhyaya, which
Svadhyaya
goes Svadhyaya.
That's a great fucking word, man. That's a great word.
Svadhyaya goes hand in hand with tapas very well, because Svadhyaya means self-study.
Okay.
Also means like study of texts. So like literally just read the Yoga Sutras. Mm-hmm. So it's study of texts, but it's also self-study. And self-study can mean, what you had done when you'd realized that you were looking for love in the wrong places. You had the wrong idea of what love is. You had to do a level of svadhyaya to realize that you were,
that you're the source of the love. Like everything is within you. Man.
Right.
Okay. Which is...
So it also means just check yourself, just on a consistent basis. Check yourself to make sure you're following your rules. Just like, where are you at? Also, like, what do you need?
Yeah.
Just be mindful of what you need, what you're doing, what you're not doing. It's really just study of self-awareness, mindfulness.
Mindfulness. There you go. That's a key fucking word. I think, okay, that's where I connect with that the most when you say mindfulness, is because, do you do meditation at all?
I do.
Yes. I have been doing meditation for the past like 55 days. Have you ever heard of Sam Harris by any chance?
I've heard of him. I don't know much though.
I don't know much about him either. He's a cool guy, and he does lots of great things, and he's a biohacker, health guy, and he has a podcast. I haven't really listened to it, but I know he has this app. It's called Waking Up with Sam Harris, and it's a meditation app. And the cool thing about Sam Harris is that any of his products that he puts out there, that if you like it and you can't afford it, he will literally give it to you for free, because he doesn't believe that money should stop anybody from having the information that he's trying to get up there. He's trying to wake up the world. So like the app, it's like $9 a month, but I am actually have it for free because I emailed their customer service and said, hey, I can't really afford that. Like, that's ridiculous for an app, you know. And they give it to you for free for a year, and then you can actually redo it every year, and you can actually send people 30 days for free. Which is really cool, like with a membership. But it had a $50-day course, introductory course to mindfulness meditation. That shit changed my fucking life, like ridiculously changed my life. I'd always been reactive in my whole life, you know, emotionally reactive to things, because my father and my mother, their reaction to things is both yelling. So, you know, if I ever got upset, my reaction was to yell, which to me, when I yell, like after it happens, I'm like, dude, that's the worst thing that anybody could like ever do to anybody, unless you're in a coaching situation. You know, getting yelled at doesn't feel good, and yelling at somebody feels even fucking worse afterwards. And so to be able to like catch that feeling or thought before it hits the thing that tells your body to do it, and switching it around, is fucking crazy. Mindfulness is another superpower. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That you described Svadhyaya very well. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. I got that one down.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Man. Yeah, mindfulness is crazy. Have you ever tried meditation?
Is that meditation on meditation? It sounds like you're describing Dhyana.
No, it's meta loving kindness. So it's to induce a specific state of being. And so, like, for instance, I would close my eyes and I would picture probably my family, my loved ones, all of them. Or you can pick one person, you know, whatever you want to do. And you simply out loud, I guess out loud in your head, so not out loud. You could say anything that you want, but typically it's I wish you love, I wish you kindness, I wish you non-suffering, I wish you
Namaste.
yeah, namaste. I wish all of your dreams to come true. Like, I wish you, like, anything that you want to say, and you just like pick a few of them, repeat them over and over again, and then you picture in your head this person achieving the ultimate happiness in their life, and recognizing that you genuinely wish that for them, and within that it induces a specific state of being within yourself of like meta love and kindness. And for me, the ripples effect of that in life is I've also been judgmental before, right? My past, I've always been judgmental, like, of everything and everybody, you know, all the time. It's ridiculous. Like, you see somebody on the street and you're like, that motherfucker. Like, you see someone, you're like, wow, like, you're weird, you know, you're a strange person, or wow, you obviously don't take care of your fucking body, like, you loser. Like, but then I've started recently, and it pulls it back together to the we're all one. If, like, when you think that way towards somebody else and you have that judgment, and then you bring it back to yourself, and you have I had the thought of, well, shit, okay, we're all one, so none of the things that I'm feeling could possibly have anything to do with this other person. It must be about myself. So
I want to note that you're describing ahimsa. Like, everything about what you're talking about is ahimsa.
Yeah?
Yeah, the whole concept of non-harming. Mm-hmm. I focus more on the deed aspect of that. It's non-harming in word, deed, and thought. So don't do bad things. But you're describing ahimsa in thought. So you were thinking negative things about all of these people, and it hurts you to do that.
Yes, which is part of the be impeccable with your word. Like he was saying, well, when you say something negatively to somebody else, like And he didn't even bring up this concept of it projecting yourself. He went like super, like blatant surface level, just hardcore truth of when you, like, if I say something mean to you, then that makes you not like me, and you not liking me isn't good for me. So like you can even be on that surface level of like just be impeccable with your word, like don't do something to somebody else because it's just, and if we're all one, and you know, if you can affect the fucking culture of bacteria with your thoughts, then you feeling bad about me must affect me in some negative way.
And now we're also getting back to Satya, the truthfulness yama,
Yes.
because one aspect of it that I didn't really get to or touch on was that words have power in like they have power over your actions, because actions come from, you know, thoughts, which come from words. It's all a consequence.
Hmm.
Actions don't happen in a vacuum. So Satya,
Yes.
words have some level of manifestation power, or thoughts have some level of manifestation power. So when you're truthful, in the same way that you like decide, I am truthful in my intention to do yoga every day or whatever it is, you kind of manifest that truth into being. You kind of create that just by intending it truthfully. So in the same way, when you say things negatively about others, you're manifesting that in some
Yeah.
way. So
Right.
that's why satya is so important, and why ahimsa is so important, because when you manifest negative thoughts, that doesn't happen in a vacuum. You're affecting the energy around you, you're affecting the energy inside of you, and you're
Right.
also affecting what actions you might manifest.
That's tripped the fuck out, man. That's tripped out. It's so crazy how we're all connected. That's why, man. Whew, it's really cool. Like I keep hearing from all of these different sources of like we're getting really really close to the point of drastically changing everything about our civilization or it going extinct. And this concept being the singular answer. Like which is crazy. So the singular answer to all of our problems is realizing that we're all one and that you are me and we are you.
Coming
And
back to our nature.
yeah,
Coming back to our
yeah.
nature.
Yeah, that's actually I wrote that in my fucking post this morning. We need to go back to nature. We need to go back to harmony and oneness with nature, because otherwise it's going to fucking eat us alive. You know, like think about, you know, the Earth is just going to perform chemo on us.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I don't blame her.
Yeah, yeah, a nice dose of fucking radiation. Fucking humans, bastards. You know, but we could, like, I bet we could turn it around and somehow. I guess that's like egotistical of mankind. I was gonna say we could make the Earth better, but you know, you just want to get it back to homeostasis, which is the best it could be.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so those are the 10 Commandments of yoga, or do we have one more?
The very last one
Last one.
is pretty basic. So Ishvari Pranidaha, Ishvari Pranidhana,
Ashvari Paridaha.
which basically means surrender. So in the
Yes.
way, like, think about the 12-step
Oh, that
program,
one's hard.
surrender yourself to something greater, right? It's basically,
Yeah.
it's really just like anti-ego is how I think of it. It's really just realize that you're no better or important, or like you don't know better than these rules. So just take them for what they are.
Thank you so much. I really struggle with that idea of surrendering, and you just simplified that so nicely of you don't know better. You don't know better than the ultimate truth or like the universal truths, like because they ring true throughout the universe, and you don't know any better, which is we're all one. Oh man.
You just got to
you,
surrender to
you
that.
don't know better. Yeah, cuz that's what my brother's been telling me about this book, the cuz we were brought up in the church. So my dad was our Sunday school teacher growing up. So like my whole fucking first 14 years, every single Sunday of my life, I was in Sunday school, in
Oh
church,
boy.
like praising the Lord, you know, all of these different things. And so for me, leaving that, there's been lots of anger and lots of resentment towards that being shoved down my throat for so fucking long, and not to mention like the onslaught of like continuously to this day, like everything that I say is just like, well, Jesus, blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay. So for me to pick up a book and it be talking about like Jesus and the sonship and God and these things and these concepts, for me it's one of the most like interesting. My brother's like, you just have to surrender, man. Like the only way that you're going to get from this book is by surrendering, and you have to realize that it's not for learning, it's for undoing. It's for undoing a separation. It's for, and what they call it is they call it the atonement. It's the atonement between the oneness of bringing back the God. God has put an altar within you, and you need to let God back into that altar. Yeah, but it's the same thing. You know, it's becoming one with the universe. It's realizing that God is within you. It's all the same, different fucking words. So it's, man, that's really crazy. I forgot where I started with that. I kind of went off there. But surrender, yes, surrender. There you go. Yes, fucking surrender. My brother's just like, you have to surrender, so you don't know better, and Jesus knows better.
I'm sorry. 1 second. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we just had an update on the thing in the ceiling thing. It's not that important.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll get it later. Thanks.
Oh, you're good.
We're good.
You're good.
Sorry.
This is not live, so I can edit this stuff. It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then what happened to the ceiling titty? Oh, they're gone now. Okay.
Yeah.
There was
No.
a spider. Anyway.
No. What happened? I'm curious.
So we have that's a ceiling titty.
Oh, I have those
in
too.
my brother's
ceiling
ceiling
titties.
titty, there was a giant spider. So they were just updating me on that, and that was a couple days ago. So,
Oh man, you guys left it in there? You didn't want to deal with it?
we didn't have the ladder. We couldn't.
Oh, yeah,
we didn't know what
ladders.
to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's so funny. I'm actually in the lighting industry. Like my job is moving and selling lights, and we
really?
actually call them titties.
That's
Yeah, like
hilarious.
the
There's actually
actual
a professional
lighting.
term for it.
Yeah, they're the ceiling titties. That's what we call them. They're from the
That's
fucking
hilarious.
70s, man. I don't
Yeah,
know
we were
why.
being so clever.
Yeah, no, that's the actual word is ceiling titties. So that's funny. It's funny. It's what's really interesting is those have been around since the 70s, and they're still like bought, sold, and used, which is really weird. Like they're the ugliest fucking things in the world.
They are, and I let it go. I mean, I live in Tucson. Everything
Yeah.
in my house is ugly and old, but
Yeah.
also like really cute and like characteristic, and like I love it. But
I have a feeling that if you have those ceiling titties and your house is in the same state as mine, it's probably pretty similar of like build types. It's interesting. Like all of the fucking houses here are the same. They're all the same.
where you're in
I'm
Phoenix,
straight up in Phoenix, like actually in Phoenix.
like Phoenix.
Yeah.
Even that's not very specific though.
North Phoenix.
North Phoenix.
Northwest. Like right next to Glendale.
Okay.
Yeah. Not super
Well,
north,
you're
like
out
mid
there.
north. Mid north.
Mid-northwest.
Yeah. Like for instance,
Where-
I can
okay,
get
so this
I can
is
get to
the
the
one
Van
on
Buren in like 13 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay. I see. It's just also the opposite from Tucson.
Yeah. I know nothing about Tucson.
Oh, well, it's south. So you
Tucson
have
is
to drive
south.
all the way through Phoenix,
Yeah.
which is like an hour just to get out of Phoenix, and then
Mhm.
2 hours to Tucson.
Is it a good city? Do you like it?
Yeah, depends who you ask. I love it.
You
I
love
love
it? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
People.
People?
I mean, it's just the energy is different. I swear. Like
Yeah?
I moved here a couple years ago, and I was only gonna stay for a year. Then I realized I had no reason to go back to Phoenix. It was like the energy there just felt intense, and I was also in Scottsdale, so
Okay.
it's very different than Tucson.
Yeah. My office was in Scottsdale. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what Tucson is. You know, I haven't even been to the fucking Grand Canyon yet, man. I mean, I've only
Me
lived.
either.
Okay. How long?
I've always lived here.
Always lived here. I've only been here for 2 years. I still haven't hiked Camelback.
That's a crime. It's also hot, so not now,
Yeah.
but that's a crime.
Yeah. I've done North Mountain a billion times. It's just like right down the street from me. So easy. It's a good hike. You know.
I would always do the preserves, like off the 51.
Okay. So North Mountain Preserves. I know what you're talking about. Actually, I went over there the other day. To Dreamy Drove or something like that. It was
I don't remember this. I don't remember.
You're good. You're good. Okay. So we're done with the first and second. What do you call them? Are they rungs, steps,
Limbs.
blims?
Limbs.
Blims.
Limbs.
I was like blims. That's another great made
I
up
know,
word.
what's that mean?
Limbs. Okay. Limbs of Ashtanga. Okay, so what's the third limb of Ashtanga? Asana?
So, asana. Yeah.
Asana. Which it's another weird thing is because like you can look up asana videos on YouTube and have like asana yoga, or you know like you go to a yoga studio and it's vinyasa or vinyasana or any of these different things or ashtanga. Are those just like butchered things that came from this at one point in time?
Yeah. So there are different schools, and then there are different styles, and some of them I won't even call yoga. I won't even give them that credit because they just manipulated the poses to be what they wanted to be to make money in the Western world in 2020. So there's yoga that's not actually yoga.
Like,
which
can
is
you
like
give one example?
goat yoga.
Yes.
Goat yoga is not yoga.
I want to do goat yoga though.
Goat yoga is not yoga. That's
yes,
like,
but we can go do things. We can go do
like
stretching with goats. Yeah, but I mean, it would be fun to have goats walking on you.
If I went to goat yoga, I would just not consider it yoga. I would say like I'm doing goat exercises.
I'm doing goat
Like
stretches.
I'm doing a goat activity, but I'm not doing goat yoga.
Yeah. Hopefully, I wonder if those goats are like, because last time I went to a petting zoo, I was really sad. I was like, this isn't cool. I was like, that's not fun. Like, what did I see in this as a child? Like, this is horrible. Like, that kid's torturing that animal right there. Like, this needs to stop.
Yeah.
Or in the aquarium, the kids are just like dunking their fucking hands in the thing and like fucking with the shit. It's just like Finding Nemo, man.
Finding Nemo.
Okay, so what is asana?
So I mean, it's the poses. Asana.
Okay.
In
It's just
the
the pose.
Sanskrit, asana just means posture. So I mean, there are different schools, different styles of it, like Ashtanga, which I'd mentioned, describes the 8 limbs, but then also describes one school of asana. And
Okay,
that's
now I
when
get
you
it.
go
Now
to an
I really
Ashtanga
understand
yoga
it.
class, like that's how they're using it.
It's an asana. It's a branch of asana. Interesting.
Yeah.
I really like that Ashtanga. I found it because I feel like everything else, there's just so many complicated, weird little movements that happen and it changes a lot. And then like each video that I watch, it's completely different than the last. But then when I watch Ashtanga, it's like the same. It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
You do the reach the sun, you bend down.
And
it's the, what is that, dragon? Is that dragon pose or upward dog?
Upward dog.
Upward dog and then downward dog.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. It's the perfect like, and if I haven't done it in a while, then I will actually hear popping throughout my body. I'll get some good nice pops in my knees, my legs, my thighs, and my joints and stuff. I fucking love yoga.
So Ashtanga comes from this guy named Patabi Joyce.
Okay.
He created the Ashtanga, those sequences that are unchanging, that every single Ashtanga class has. So Patabi Joyce is like the father of Ashtanga yoga.
Patabi Joyce. That's a good name. And I like it also that it emphasizes the breath more than the movements. It's like a move, or at least the instructor that I was being taught by.
So yeah, interesting enough. So every school of asana, will or could incorporate the breath with the movements, because pranayama, breath work, and asana, you can't separate them. Like the body is one,
Yeah.
But Ashtanga actually has less emphasis on breath work than some of the other schools of yoga. So like
Ah,
vinyasa is another style of yoga,
yeah.
which is very focused on pranayama of the breath.
Yes.
So that's the one where it's just one breath to one motion. Like you don't hold any of the poses, and it's more focused on inhale, do this, exhale, do that. And like your attention is honestly more on your breath than about your body positioning.
That's how I've been taught, at least by my instructor for Ashtanga. It's for every single movement, it's in and then out for the next one, and in and out for the next one. Or sometimes it's hold for 5. I guess it is hold. Do you not
And
do
the
any of the holds for 5?
too. Teachers will do what they want to do with it. Yeah.
I mean, her name is Fight Master, Leslie Fight Master. So she might be doing some new age, like Western stuff.
Seems like she is. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, she's cool
Yeah,
though.
but I mean, really, the whole point of asana is just it's body preparation for enlightenment.
Right.
So
Is
it's
that part of
this-
the cleansing of the body?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So asana is a way to practice saucha.
Is Saucha cleansing?
Yes. Yeah, that was that first niyama, cleanliness.
Okay. That's cool.
And really,
Got
it's
it.
about like mastery of the body, because we already know that you are not your body. Your body is just a tool that you use to get around in your environment. So
Right.
the whole point of asana is just mastery of the body, because then once you master the tool that you're in, you know, then you have freedom to do what you will with the self inside.
Yes, I like that a lot. I like the way that I connect to that is in one of the podcasts that I listened to. It's called Bulletproof Radio. His name is Dave Asprey. You wouldn't like him. Every single thing he's talking about meat, so don't even look him up. But he was saying like a lot of, but he also, like, his podcast is all encompassing, and he has a bunch of self-help gurus and psychiatrists and you know, like life coaches and other things in that nature on the show as well. And I actually went through and listened to every single fucking one of them out of the 700, and I learned a lot of things. And one of the things that stuck out to me was he said, like, there's not even any fucking point of trying to work on your traumas, your emotional issues, or like your addictions or any of these things until you start eating fucking healthy. Like, because if you can't, like, if your body's not healthy, then you're not going to have the mental fortitude to even start trying to deal with your emotional problems.
So in yoga philosophy, they also make it very clear that you cannot practice meditation without mastering asana first, because you need to, I mean, you can still practice it, but I mean, you won't truly practice it like to its fullest extent, because you need to have mastery over your body. You need to be able to, you know, sit upright with no effort. And they're very explicit about no effort. Like your body's not even there. You're just existing. So
Yeah.
you need mastery over your body before you can meditate or do breath work.
That makes sense. Have you ever heard of, when you say before you can, you mean specifically before you can master?
Yes,
Or
because I mean,
receive
you can, in the same way that you can still practice asana without, you know, the certain level of flexibility needed for a certain pose. You won't
Right.
master asana without that. So you can't like master meditation without mastering asana.
Right. But welcome to the path anyways, and like keep joining us proverbially to other
Right.
people. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's really cool.
Because you like, let's say you're practicing meditation, but you haven't mastered your body yet. You will be distracted by whatever pain or sensation or whatever it is that you feel. Even if it is just as simple as like, you know, not being able to master when you feel you need to use the restroom. Like it's as simple as like mastering your body and knowing it in its entirety. And
Yeah.
so then you can exist without giving it thought. And that's when you can meditate.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you think that practicing meditation without being in a point of mastery of your body, do you think that could help people have mastery over their body? Because for me, when I'm sitting there, like for instance, in the app that I use, Sam Harris, like he does different kinds of meditations in different directions and things. And before one of them, he said, I want you to make a commitment to yourself for like this X amount of time that you're not going to move a muscle, regardless of whether it hurts or feels uncomfortable or anything, because you have to come to the realization that, you know, it's just a sensation within your body, and a sensation within your body is nothing, because you don't actually, you're not your body, you're simply consciousness. Everything is an appearance in consciousness, and it's not going to fucking kill you. So just resolve to accept whatever sensation you feel and to not move before you embark on this journey. And maybe if after somebody does that over and over again, do you think that could help them towards that mastery of body?
Yes, yes. So yes, I was using meditation very specifically in the sense of dharana, which is the next limb of yoga, which is what you were kind of describing, was just, you know, meditating on, you know, whatever it is, whatever sensation you feel in your body. That's more svadhyaya. So in English, we just use meditation to mean any kind of like sitting still and thinking about a certain thing, or thinking about nothing, or so we just use meditation loosely in English. So yes, absolutely what you said. When I say meditation, I mean you can practice svadhyaya, is, you know, what you were describing. That's important, like, you know, that's a commandment, do that. But you can't actually truly meditate, which is different, until you've mastered asana.
Okay. So what is actually meditating?
So, good question. So there are two kinds of meditation in yoga.
Okay.
Technically there's one, but okay. So dhyana is true meditation.
And did you just go to number 4, the fourth limb? Is that dhyana as well?
Technically, okay. Well, you know what? Let's do this in order. You're right. So after pranayama, which is breath work.
Right. Is that so? Number 3
is asana.
Is this asana, and then number 4 is pranayama. Pranayama, which is breath work.
Pranayama, which is breath work. Which is, you know, there are, you know, specific, similar to how there are actual specific poses and asana, there are specific, you know, breathwork techniques to use.
Right.
Which is really just, you know, preparation, further preparation. Asana and pranayama are very intertwined. It's just further body preparation for meditation.
Right. Have you, sorry to get a little off track, have you ever done like other types of, like, what kind of breath work have you done? Have you at all?
Not a lot. I mean, only as much as I've done in my asana classes, but not separate from yoga. I haven't.
You've
yet.
never tried like hypoxia, like self-induced hypoxia? Like, do you know what hypoxia is? It's either lack of oxygen or overload of CO2. It's one of those are complete polar opposites. It's one of those two, but it's have you ever heard of the Iceman? Iceman, no. Wim Hof. No. There's this fucking guy. Okay, so there's this fucking guy, and he can climb Mount Everest in a Speedo.
What?
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's body mastery, but what?
Yeah. So he's called the Iceman, and he is so good at this, and he has mastered it to the point where like he does retreats where like I can pay him, like I can set it up to pay him to where he will teach me how to master my body to the point where he will take me on a fucking mountain and walk me to the top in my underwear. That's incredible. Yes. And it's all with the breath. His whole thing is breath. It's called Wim Hof, the Wim Hof method. And you can actually the app is fucking 100% free. I mean, he has some paid blocks, but the actual practice of it is completely free. And it's this series of breathing where you take a big breath in, you go. So you're only blowing out 80%, and you do that like 30 times, really, really hardcore, and then you blow it. I have a cat, and she was walking out the cat door. If you can hear that.
Okay.
and you can then so you do that 30 times, then you breathe out and you let all of your air out and you just hold your breath. And like the start time would be a minute, and then you breathe in for 15 seconds and you hold that, or you take one breath in, you hold that for 50 seconds, and you start over. So then you go to 30 breaths and you breath hold, and then you do breath hold for as long as possible. And like, it's this strange thing, and I don't know the science behind it, but each time that you go through a level, you can hold your breath longer. So like, you can start at a minute, then you can go for like a minute and 20 seconds, and you could go for like a minute 45 seconds. And you can get to the point where you can hold your breath for like 7-8 fucking minutes, just sitting there like doing this breath work. I have never done that. I've heard of people who did that, but you know, like I can get to the point where I'm holding my breath for 1 minute, and then by the end of it, I'm doing it for like 2.5 minutes, which is fucking crazy. Wow. Yeah.
That is crazy. I can maybe do 11 seconds.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, really.
Yeah. Like holding your breath's not easy. So I mean, it's called hypoxia, and it's pretty much does everything for you. It's like it's a superfood. It's good for your, I don't know, I'd be shitting out of my ass if I started trying to list things, but it's pretty much like scientifically proven to make you healthier and better and live longer in like every way.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's the most tangible way that you interact with the energy field around you.
Is breathing.
Yes, it's breathing.
Which is
taking
also
it in,
the thing.
and then you're putting it back out, and then taking it in, and then putting it back out. So yes, of course it's important.
And it's the thing that connects us all through time and space, through argon, by breathing, by the air, by fuck. And he was also describing, like, you know, outside of this small, thin bubble of air that is around this planet that's keeping us all safe and alive, you know, outside of that, it's chaos and it's death. So the only thing keeping us all together is air around the earth. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got pranayama, which is breath work. And what's number 5?
Pratyahara, which is withdrawal of the senses or control over the senses. This can be interpreted in a lot of ways. So it can be interpreted, I mean, really the way I think it's meant is, so in the way that we are not our meat suits are just how we connect to the world. Mm-hmm. Our senses are how our meat suits connect to the world. Right. So if we want to go back to our truest selves, we need to withdraw from the world. Right. So it's really just about,
if we need to
return to, are like your senses are like your feelers.
I just want to make sure I got you right. If we want to return to our selves, then we have to remove ourselves from the world, is what you said?
Well, if all that we are is an energetic being, right, we're just like a body of energy, or like a ball of energy inside of this body, and this body, then we interact with the world through it, right? It's hard to articulate.
Yeah.
But it's the concept of just, if, like, let's say you do withdraw all of your senses. Let's say you're deaf, blind, you can't feel anything, you can't smell anything. You're blind to the world, right? Mm-hmm. You have no concept of the world. What do you have left? What's left?
Yeah, what the fuck would be left?
What's left? That's the point. So you withdraw all of your senses, and what's left is yourself, right? Not your body. Senses are gone. Not your mind, because we're meditating.
What's just left awareness, is yourself. Or consciousness.
It's exactly what that neuroanatomist in that TED Talk that I sent to you, Jill Boltz-Taylor, she experienced a withdrawal of her senses and was just left with, you know, her energetic being.
Oh, that lady that died and came back?
Yeah.
Oh shit, that was a crazy video, man.
Yeah, so that's exactly the concept, right? So she withdrew her senses. She had no sensory perception anymore. And what did she have left? Yeah. She had just this energy, this experience of being.
And that was the thing that she realized, came back and was trying to tell us.
That's samadhi, that's yoga, that's enlightenment. Yes. And so she achieved it, you know, by cheating. So she isn't able to recreate that in the way that like an enlightened person can.
Right.
But she got there.
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, it's way better than sitting in a cave for 30 years. Okay. Okay. Hmm. So control of your senses. So can you dive into that a little bit more?
I mean, with regard to, because all of these limbs are just preparation or like the path to yoga, which means union of,
Yoga means you.
this self inside of you with the whole self, the
Right.
whole energetic universe. So with that regard, yeah, it's important because, uh, I mean, think about meditating.
Hmm.
You purposefully try to stop listening to things. You close your eyes. You do withdraw your senses when you meditate. So it's just doing that to its fullest extent.
Right. How do you take steps in your practice to try to achieve that?
So here's the thing about these 8 limbs. You don't necessarily do all of them every day, all of the time.
Hmm.
So the first 10 concepts, the yamas and the niyamas, that is the case. You practice those all of the time. Those are just universal rules to live by.
Right.
These other, limbs are not universal. They are confined by time and place and circumstance. So when I'm meditating, I practice pratyahara. I don't practice pratyahara just in my daily life.
Right.
But another interpretation of pratyahara is withdrawal of the senses in regard to like, sensory pleasures. So just don't overstimulate yourself. Like don't. But I feel like this is a concept in yoga philosophy that is described by something other than pratyahara. People are just describing it to pratyahara, but the concept of just like not overindulging,
Is it
just
and it kind of ties
self-restraint,
in
like
with the
brahmacharya.
self-discipline.
Yeah, so I feel so you can apply those other concepts to pratyahara, just like self-restraint, self-discipline,
Hmm.
like not eating too much because it tastes good, and not having so much sex because it feels good, and things like that. So withdrawal of the senses, or like control or moderation of the senses in that sense too.
Right. Right. Hmm. Interesting. I think does that have to do with porn too? Like for guys? Or would that just
um
be the self-discipline or would that be the energy thing?
I haven't thought about porn in the context of the yamas and niyamas or the
Cause,
limbs.
cause I know for me right now that's something that I'm trying to quit because I've realized that that's just it changes
Hmm.
the way that you perceive other humans and like it's not a reality and I don't think that it's not healthy and
Yeah,
it is an
I think
actual
that
addiction.
I think that porn and things can be bad in multiple ways, right? So I
Yeah,
think porn would have to do with satya, because it's just not truthful what you're seeing. It's a production.
there you go.
Um,
That's good.
brahmacharya, because you're expending your energy in doing and watching that.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, honestly, you could apply a lot of ahimsa just because the industry is so harmful.
right.
Um, asteya, because that the energy exchange between the two of them is not for you.
Right.
So in a way,
Yeah.
you're taking what's not yours. And like stealing doesn't have to mean that they no longer have it, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
still
Yeah.
taking what's not yours.
Yeah, shit. So that's cool. I like that because you just bam, 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 crossed it out across the board from many different angles, and that's really good. Like, and I brought that up because I have like not only within myself, but I've been seeing a lot of push lately towards, like recognizing that it's probably not a good thing to have rampaging through our society 24/7. And I've seen like an uproar of fucking posts about it from other people that I follow, and I thought that might be an interesting thing because like if we're trying to conserve your energy by not having sex with a bunch of people, but behind the scenes you're jacking off like 3 times a day or using a dildo, whatever fits your pleasure, then that's the same exact fucking thing, you know.
Hmm.
That's an interesting thought. Huh.
Yeah, it is.
Interesting. So that's number 5. What's number 6?
Um, Goodness, where were we?
Derailed that one.
Got me on. Got me on that. Number 6 of what? Of the limbs? Are we doing limbs? Okay. The next limb is dharana. So dharana and dhyana, which are the next 2 limbs, are very confusing in that it's hard to articulate the difference between them, because you can call them both meditation. Dharana is the kind of meditation that you have to do first. It's the one that we're more familiar with. Dharana is focus or concentration on a single point.
So mindfulness meditation.
Sure. I'm not sure how the different mindfulness meditation, meditation.
Well, for me, in my context, through this, because my only context for meditation is the app that I use. So in that, it's literally called the mindfulness meditation course, and within that, it's focusing specifically on one thing. So like at the beginning, it's breath, then it's sounds, and then it's thoughts, and then it's different things, and then at some point, it's all of them at one time, and then kind of realizing that and just being that space of awareness and resting in that and accepting things as it comes. Is that correlated at all?
That kind of described both dharana and dhyana. Yeah.
Okay.
So dharana, yes, it's the idea of focus on a single object.
Okay.
So whether that single object is your breath, or a certain sensation in your body, or an idea, or a thought, whatever it is. And then dhyana is, you have to master dharana before you can practice dhyana. Dhyana is meditation without attention on a single point. It's just the state of complete awareness, but you're not thinking about anything. So that's the kind of meditation that maybe before we actually knew what meditation was, and it's like, how do you think about nothing? Like, how do I think about nothing? That's hard to do. So then that's why we came up with dharana. Okay, thinking about nothing is hard. How about we think about this one thing? So then if we can think about this one thing, and we can train our brains to think about this one thing, then eventually we'll be able to think about nothing.
That's exactly the whole course. Yeah, you literally, that was the whole thing. So like throughout the 50 days, that's how it started. So it started by focusing on the breath, then it was focusing on this, and then it was focusing on this, and then he kind of gradually moved into, okay, now I want you to arrive all at once. Okay, the breath is there, the chair and the pressure against the seat is there, the sounds are there, all of these things are there. Okay, now recognize that. Now bam, be an empty space of awareness at the same time. Oh man, that's cool. Okay, so wow, that's really cool. So it got broken down into, but that's interesting, because the way that you're describing it to me, it sounds like a lifelong, super hard to achieve like monk process. But then he just kind of did that like little, I guess it's called an introductory course to meditation for a fucking reason. Now that I think about it, it's an intro.
Yeah, so I wouldn't call it a lifelong thing, but I would say it would probably take at least a year or 2 to master. Okay. So this, The Mind Illuminated, is a book written by John Yates, PhD. He's a neuroscientist or something similar.
Fucking love
so he talks about just the neuroscience of meditation and how attention actually works, the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
So, I haven't read all of this yet. I've really only read the intro.
Yeah.
But it's his opinion that it would take at least, a year or 2 to truly master this. So, and I think
that's not that bad.
Well, the concept of dhyana is tricky though, because I can see how it might be easily conflated with just like thinking about nothing and like having awareness, but really you're kind of thinking about all of the things at once. You're kind of aware and thinking about everything. Your mind just kind of bounces back around so quickly.
So you're saying dhyana is that, or what we think dhyana is that?
It's conflated to think that. It's what some people think dhyana might be, or really what people experience, and they might call it dhyana. Because, and when I say that, I'm thinking about a particular part in this neuroscience of meditation book, where he talks about how attention actually works and how you can't actually think about more than one thing at once. Like your attention
Yeah.
truthfully only lands on one thing at one time, and when you're multitasking, it's just going back and forth really fast.
Yes.
So in the same way, dhyana, truthfully what it means is thinking about nothing. Your attention is nowhere. It's just dissolved into yourself. It's the union of the self and the mind. It's just the complete dissolution of your attention.
Which is that tie into polygara? I probably said that wrong. Number 5.
Parigraha?
Parigraha. Sorry, I got some chicken scratch over here. I was trying to read my writing. Parigraha.
Well, parigraha is the non-possessiveness, non-hoarding.
I thought okay. Then number 5, the 5th limb.
Oh, the 5th limb. Oh, pratyahara.
Pratyahara. Yeah, that's what I fucking wrote down. Pratyahara. Yeah, the control over the senses. Yeah, kind of like what you said.
Yeah.
Control over the senses, withdraw within yourself, and be in a space
Yeah,
of
so it's
nothing.
the same idea. It's like the withdrawal of the senses, but then you do that with your brain, with your mind. So you have to do that with your senses first.
Boy, so senses are the body, and then dhyana is the mind.
Oh, you're getting it. You're getting it.
Shit,
You gotta
that's
do that
deep.
with your senses first and your body first, and then we will conflate. Or let me back up. Someone who takes that course that you were describing, not to say that, who am I to say that they did or did not actually reach dhyana, but probably most of the people who took that course, when they think that they reached dhyana, really what they reached was just a state of their attention was just bouncing back and forth from everything so quickly that they kind of had this impression that they weren't really thinking about much, but they were just aware of everything. But really your attention is just bouncing back and forth.
Okay, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's like fleeting moments of emptiness in between it.
So John Yates in this book also mentions that it's possible. Meditation is not necessarily linear. I mean, more or less, kind of. There's a path, but it's not perfectly linear. You might reach a certain stage of meditation one day, and then, take weeks or months to get back to it again, or, vice versa. So, yeah, it's possible that you have had moments of dhyana. And I know that I have had moments of dharana. Quite honestly, my meditation practice is more new. So,
same here.
I know that I've had great moments of dharana, but it's practice.
Yeah, focusing, just close, to anybody who's listening to this, pause it, close your eyes, and try to fucking go... And on each inhale, go in, out, in, out, in, out, or even better yet, do 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, and you probably will not get to 10, maybe 20 if you're special. You can't. It's so fucking hard to focus on one thing. Before you count to 10 breaths, you will start thinking about something else. I bet your ass.
Yes. So that's exactly why these limbs were drawn up this way, because we know that we can't just get to dhyana. We have to do dharana first. The mind is they call it monkey mind. The Sanskrit is monkey mind. It just bounces back and forth too much. You have to train it to focus on one point, and then you can train it to focus on nothing.
That makes sense. I focused on my breath once for 8 minutes. That was crazy. I went because I don't like to do the counting, but I can go in, out, in, out, in, out, and I did it for 10 minutes, and then I opened my eyes, looked at the timer, and I was like, "What, dude? Yes! Oh man!" I did a 45-minute meditation the other day. That was crazy, crazy. Halfway through it, I'm like, fuck, this hurts my back, but I kept my eyes shut, or I made it through. So
I love that you said that. That's why you need to master asana before you can master meditation.
Yes,
that's exactly why, because you were like, oh, my back, you hadn't mastered your body yet.
Yeah, I have not. That's why I can't properly meditate for long periods of time.
Well, why you can't like master meditation? You can
Yeah.
practice meditation.
Yeah, I can practice meditation, but there's no fucking way I'm ever gonna get to Dhyana with the situation that I got going on right now.
Do some
So
asana. Work on your asana.
asana, which is posture. I do, I do need to do. Actually, I found. Have you ever done? Oh shit, you're not in the city, but have you ever done like indoor rock climbing
As a kid, yeah.
as a kid? Okay, well, as an adult, it's still fun, by the way.
Oh no, I'm sure.
And you can, so they have like rock climbing fucking gyms. So for people who like use the gym as practice to go climb on real things like outside, which are crazy people. I never want to do that, but you can go inside. And so there's a gym. It's got like 40, 50-foot walls, man. And you know, you pay like a monthly membership for like the traditional thing that you probably had where somebody was holding you. And then they also have one where you like, you're pretending that you're on a mountain and you're actually connecting yourself to these things and you're moving and then connecting yourself again. And like you have to get a little certification to do that. And then there's this other thing called bouldering, which is what I really like. And it's where it's like short 10 to 20 foot walls. 20 foot might be pushing it a little bit. And some of them like curve out like this a little bit, and there's no ropes, there's no harnesses or anything, and you're just climbing on this fucking wall, and you climb up, and there's crash pads below you. It's short, and there's crash pads to where like it's set up to where you don't get hurt. Like as long as you fall and you don't, you know, like hit your neck stupidly, you're fine. Like it's not scary. It's not. Think about climbing up like the side of a house. You know, it's not that bad. Like a regular house.
I still don't want to fall off the side of a house.
Okay. Well, I mean, but there's like a super thick pad below you that's called a crash pad, specifically made to make it feel fine. So bouldering, that's really fun. But the reason why I'm saying this is because bouldering gyms also double as fucking yoga studios. And for me, like every single time I've ever wanted to take like a yoga class or go join or be a membership, it's like $100 to $120 a fucking month for a membership at a yoga studio. At a rock climbing gym, it's like $80 a month. You get unlimited rock climbing and unlimited access to the yoga fucking classes.
That's a steal.
Like,
I'm sad we don't have one in Tucson.
you guys don't have any? Well, I mean, I didn't know that we had them here until I looked it up. You know, is Tucson small? Is it a small city?
It's pretty small. I'd be surprised.
Okay, yeah, Phoenix. There's like 4 of them, man. It's fucking sick. But they're closed right now. They're fucking closed. I hate.
Well, sure.
Like, but I'm from Texas, and everything in Texas is open. Like, all of my family is just doing their normal life, like just living life, you know, and everything's fine. And then I'm over here, like, fuck, everything's closed. Like, I can't go do anything. It's really annoying. It's interesting.
So that's where you would have to tap into your Santosha. And your Ahimsa.
Ahimsa. I got the Ahimsa. What's the Santosha again?
I don't remember if we really got to it. I might have skipped it because it's after Saucha and before Tapas. Do you have that on your pad?
In the Yamas?
In the Niyamas.
Niyamas. No, I don't.
Santosha is contentment.
Oh yeah, we didn't touch on that. What is that?
Oh goodness, I skipped it.
Yeah. I know the word, and like in context I would understand a sentence, but what specifically does contentment mean?
The way I take it to mean you've been dealt your cards. Now, what can you do with them? You can't swap them out. You can only play them.
Okay.
So it really just means, you know, be happy with the hand you've been dealt. Be content with the hand you've been dealt. Not to say like.
Oh, be content.
Yes. Be content.
Oh,
be content.
I was thinking contentment. I was like, you've been caught in contentment, man. Like that's criminal shit.
Oh. No, that's kind of the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, how does that fit into this picture? You want to be?
No, that's the opposite.
Okay.
It's contentment.
Be content.
And the reason I say like you've been dealt your cards is because I've heard other yoga teachers just say it as just be content, but that's not the full picture for me. It's not just be content. It's not just like accept your situation, because like what if it's bad? Like that's not, you still have power. You still have all of these other yamas and niyamas in your toolbox, but you can't change what you can't change. You know,
Yeah.
it's that level of, it's just that level of acceptance of reality of just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you also need to recognize when it isn't when it isn't.
Yes.
You know, like it is what it is, except when it's not.
Yes, which is a beautiful concept and something that I just recently dove into. I actually just finished reading a book called Loving What Is. And in this book, like the whole fucking book is about loving what is. And one of the key points that she makes is like, if you're loving everything that is, even if it's the most horrible thing that's happening to you, doesn't that inspire non-action? She's like, no, you just simply accept and take action from a non, like a non, like if you're loving what is, then you're in a non, like you're not having any negative feelings or emotions or reactions to a situation, so you can kind of react to things from a place of zen.
Ooh, I had one yoga teacher who described this really well. She talked about things don't happen to you, they just happen
for you.
They just happen like around you.
Okay.
Before you, like things just happen. So like for example, you're at the grocery store and there's a crying baby and you're like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? That there's this crying baby who's just like, right? And you think, why is this happening to me?
Right.
It's not happening.
It's just happening
to you.
Could,
it's just
could
happening.
take,
and you're
could
there.
we take that a little
like,
further and say it's happening for you?
Sure, it's happening before you. That works.
No, not before, but for. Like for.
Oh.
Like, what if you could take that even one step further, and rather than saying, oh, that's just happening, what if you could even analyze it deeper and say, that's happening for me? Like, I'm hearing this baby right now so that I can be annoyed and have the time to take the moment to practice, like, being content with the moment at hand. So the universe it's not happening to you. It's not just happening. It's happening for you. Like,
I don't have an issue with that philosophy. From a yoga philosophy perspective, that's not
what you're trying to get at. Okay.
Well, yeah. So that philosophy is good. It's just not. So the whole point of Santosha is that it is what it is, and it's not for or against you. It's egotistical to think that it is one way or another. You just exist there, just like they exist there, and it's not for or against you. It just is. It is what it is.
Right.
You just be content with the cards you've been dealt. But I think that the concept that you're describing, I wouldn't apply Santosha to it. Maybe I would apply something like Svadhyaya, like how is this affecting me, and what can I do about it? How can I better myself so that if I'm in the situation again, I will be differently. So if it does bother you, check yourself.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I like that. I love that you have great answers for all of these different ones. That's wonderful. and I like your ability to take different pieces and apply it in different areas and to the same thing at the same time to all of the different concepts and ideas that I've brought up throughout in questions. It's really cool, and it shows that you are like giving 110% to this, and I really appreciate that. It's really cool. So we are on. So Dharana is single thing. Dhyana is focusing on nothing. Those are two states of meditation. And is the eighth thing, is it enlightenment?
It is. That's Samadhi. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Samadhi, which is, quite honestly, there are a couple different terms for enlightenment. Samadhi is SAMADHI.
Okay. Samadhi. Got it.
So there are a few different terms for this, like nirvana is one of them.
Yes.
But they describe slightly different things. So nirvana is more the state of your consciousness when you are in the state of samadhi. You experience nirvana when you're in samadhi. So these terms can be kind of confusing and conflated, but it's really the idea of enlightenment. It's when you achieve dhyana is just one step below that, right? So you completely absorb your mind. Sorry?
Is that a Buddha?
Buddha?
Yeah, is that a Buddha? Because you said a Buddha is one step underneath enlightenment.
Oh, well, so dhyana is the limb right below enlightenment.
Right. I was trying to make an analogy. Is Diana similar to Buddha?
Oh, I
Like,
see.
yeah.
Um,
Or is it just kind of a little separate?
Goodness. So that's a question that because these different like stages of enlightenment are not that they're not clear, it's that they're not clear to me right now.
Right. Because you
So
haven't gotten
there's
there
like
yet. Yeah.
a sub layer of enlightenment, and then there's like another layer of enlightenment. And
What?
samadhi, I don't remember if it's this layer, if it's this layer. So a Buddha is like here, and then there's samadhi, and then
Yeah.
yeah. So Buddha really. So what Buddha comes from? It's the term Buddhi means intellect. It means mind. So
Okay.
a Buddha is a conqueror of your mind. So logically, I would assume that means that someone who has achieved dhyana is a Buddha.
That makes totally sense. It kind of fits the bill. Okay.
Yeah.
So number 8 is enlightenment. So like what is that? Just something that's kind of like an abstract thing until you get there?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk more enlightenment all
Like
we
we could
want,
we
but
could
like
talk
I
about it. We could
can't
say a
really
bunch
claim
of
to know what
words.
it's like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because neither one of us has had it, and yeah, that's my
right,
cat right there.
right.
But okay. So that's really cool. And so it would take about a year to or two to get through all of these different steps. And does that book like walk you through this, like similar to a 12-step program like in AA or something like that?
So that's what the Yoga Sutras are, basically. It's the
Okay.
manual.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali is the
Patanjali.
guy who, 2000 BC wrote this up.
That's
He
cool.
basically
That's
like
in my
compiled
mantra.
all yogic knowledge.
He's in my mantra. Like at the very the lady that I listen to, she does a nice long mantra at the beginning of the thing, and I almost can repeat the whole thing with her. It's really cool because I've been doing it for a couple of years. And at the end, the end of the thing is Pananjanine or that thing like drawn out
Yeah.
with an om afterwards.
So Patanjali is, this guy's name, and
Patanjali.
it also means oblations offered to God,
Ah,
like a gift to God.
kind of like Hare Krishna.
Yeah, kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah.
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 Well,
Have-
Hare Krishna is more like praise God.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
fucking Hare. I want to. That is my dream. Like the moment that this pandemic clears up a little bit more and things start opening and like religious places are good, I'm going to a Hare Krishna and I'm chanting with those motherfuckers. I'm so excited. Have you ever tried it before?
No, I haven't.
No,
I haven't.
I swear to God, like, cause okay, so I've been training for a marathon and I've been doing like lots of water therapy, like hot and cold, and I have a stand up shower, so I bought this blow up bathtub that's kind of like a barrel, and it's not blow up. You just put like things in it, and it's kind of like foam, and it's just pretty cool, and it fits inside of my shower, and so I fill it up with water, and you can get into it, and I'll get into that bitch with like 110-degree water, and go all the way to here, and for 20 minutes I'll just sit in the bath and just like fucking meditate, and then once I can't take it anymore, I'll turn on like Hare Krishna and I'll start chanting with those motherfuckers to just like it's like a mind altering experience similar to a psychedelic.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So chanting is one aspect of all of this that I
Really?
am not familiar with. Like, no, I haven't
Ah.
done much.
Okay.
I mean, I have. So, like, I plan to. Like, I have.
Chant and be happy. Yes.
And then.
Sanskrit mantras, verses, and hymns. Yes, yes. And like I've come to this realization lately that like because I grew up in the church, so like every Sunday we would go to church, and during like we would go to what was called contemporary worship. So it was like a rock band and like a guy who wasn't wearing the robe. He was just wearing, like khakis and a button-down shirt that was rolled up with a Bible in his hand, just like talking to you, telling you a story. And you know, so like he would come up there and he would say something, and then you know the band would play and everybody would sting up and we'd start singing, and then you know there's just like this feeling of elation and connection, and this like you get the goosebumps and you can like feel like the connection to the vibrations of the universe. And then when I did Hare Krishna for the first time in the bathtub, because I've seen it in a few movies, and I saw it in this documentary called The Kindness Diaries, where this guy travels across the world on only kindness, and he did this Hare Krishna chant. And he was just like, he looked fucked up afterwards, man. Like he looked like he was on drugs, and I was like, I want that. So I tried it, and I was in the middle of it, and I was chanting, and I was like, huh. I was like, this is the same thing. This is the same reason. This is the exact same thing as when Christians gather and they sing in church. It's the same attuning to the vibrational energies. And I rave a lot. Like I love going to EDM concerts. And when I'm in a pit and like we're going fucking hard and the bass is going, you know, like sometimes I'll come out of it and I'll look and I'm like, wow, like this is the same thing. It's that connection to the vibrations of the universe and like feeling that. And like whether you're listening to electronic beeps and boops, or you're listening to some ancient Hare Krishna, or you're listening to some weird like stupid Christian rock stuff, you know, it's exactly the same thing, and you're trying to achieve the same, you know, like you're a tuning fork for the universe. It's fucking trip the fuck out, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because really, what are you doing when you make noise, when you speak, when you chant? I mean, you're making vibrations in the air around you. You're changing the vibrational energy around you.
And everything's vibrating. Like the atoms are all vibrating. Like that's how they're all connecting. It's all vibrations. The like sound is actually just vibrations, you know? Like oh boy, it's fucking crazy. Man, I get so caught up in these thoughts, and I get lost in thought, and it's so tripped out, like that there's just these universal truths that appear throughout all of these different places across the universe, across time, across humanity, across cultures, across religions. And it's, I guess if you come back and you look at that, you like from a wide point of view, it's just another iteration of the feeling, or of the concept that we're all fucking one. You know, like if we're all like, you know, go for it. Yeah.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, like you, when you first start to realize that, how like even people who disagree with each other have principles that align, like in the same way that like, you know, Christians and Hindus and, you know, yoga philosophy and Christianity have principles that align.
Yes.
You start to realize that, and you're like, oh, how cool. But then the more you realize that, the more you realize that it's not like, oh, how cool, oh, how cool. It's more like, that's just how it is. It's just, that is the state of, that's just the universal truth. That just is. So it's no longer like so cool. It's more like a given. Like I like, it would be like so cool if I would find a philosophy that's different almost, because like this is just the universal truth, you know? It's just less cool now. It's just like, that's just how it is.
Yeah, because like I always had the question while growing up in Christianity of like if this is true, and like because they preach that this is the singular truth, and like if this is first of all true, and second of all the singular truth, then that means that 99.99% of every single human being that's ever been alive is going to burn in hell. I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like that doesn't make any sense to me, because the amount of humans out of all of the humans who have ever lived who just like even know who Jesus is or was as a concept is like like nobody's heard of him. Like on the grand scale, if you take all of the humans who have ever lived and you like, it's this many, like this many have heard of Jesus, and all of these people are in hell. Like that doesn't make any sense. So it must be that they're all trying to tell you the same thing.
So, and there are still problems other than this with the religion. But what's really cool about Hinduism is they understand that concept, and they know that, well, to an extent, that their way isn't necessarily the way. Like, so they have their stories and they know like what is, but they do not discredit Christianity. They would discredit Christianity's stories, but they would say a Christian who practices Christianity, anyone who practices their religion will reach, you know, heaven or whatever the goal is, the same afterlife. So Hinduism will even be like, or sorry, a Christian will look at a Hindu and be like, you're wrong. But a Hindu would look at a Christian and be like, you got the stories wrong, but like,
Yeah.
you're not wrong. Like, you
Yeah.
still got the idea. Like, you still know, you're still going where I'm going. We're going to the same place. You got stories wrong, but like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, two cool things. On like one is like that the concept of, I guess, just one thing. So like I heard the other day, like this guy he was talking, I think it was Aubrey Marcus, and he was saying, you know, whether you're the speed addict or the heroin addict or the car junkie or the monk who goes and lives for 1,000,000 years or the biohacker who lives for 300 years, you know, you're all going home. And you're just, it's all the same thing. It's like you're literally just taking your own different pathway home. And the second thing is that it's just getting in touch with your creator or the divine or whatever you want to fucking call it. Like it's like that's why they want you to pray or spend that alone time in meditation with, you know, the ultimate being or whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's all just that reconnection. I kind of like that word, the divine, like reconnection with the divine. In
It's
that
about that
oneness.
surrender. It's about the Ishvari Pranidhana.
God, the surrender because you don't fucking know any better. Oh man, that's a good one. Okay, so we've gone through the 8 steps. We've dived deep into some of the concepts. Is there anything left untouched that you would like to bring?
Not off the top of my head.
That's okay. That's okay. It's been 2 hours and 20 minutes, if you can believe it.
Goodness. I mean, honestly, I know that there's more. Like, there's always. Actually, there is one thing. You'd
Let's go.
mentioned the Kindness Diaries.
Yeah, man,
I
I like
don't
that.
like that show.
What?
I don't like that show because you know why? He practices steya, the opposite of asteya. He is stealing people's kindness and attention and generosity when it was not given to him.
But he's trying
He's
to
going
prove a
around
point.
the globe manufacturing a need that he doesn't have for people to then give him, gift to him from whatever they have. The whole
But
concept
what
is
happens
just
when you-
arbitrary.
Oh, but I mean, I feel like
I'm speaking strictly from yoga philosophy.
okay, strictly, but is that your? But I mean, but you also said I don't like, so that is also your philosophy. So, but I mean, what about when you look at his intention though? Like, do you understand his intention behind that?
I think intention is important, but it doesn't undo your action. So I know his intention is just to like display kindness or like bring attention or awareness to the fact that people are kind, but like the way he's doing it is destructive. Like he's taking advantage of these people. It's like that concept of asteya.
Mm-hmm.
It's very specific. He is taking that which was not just willfully given to him. He's going out and searching. He's manufacturing his own need in order to take from people. And like, yeah, I know sometimes he like gives back or whatever, but like the whole concept.
What if, you know, like but it's not manufacturing a need so that he could take from people. It's like, I kind of come back, my thought about this is when you use the example of, hiding somebody from a Nazi and, like not telling the truth to do a greater good. So breaking one of your other philosophies to have a greater good. So like, what if his purpose and his like the intention behind what he's doing isn't to manufacture a need and take kindness from others. It's to exemplify the fact that, like, even in these dark times, even in the face of looking at the news and seeing all of this hate and all of this bad shit, like don't lose hope in the fact that kindness is still out there. Like, people are still kind, and we need to do all that we can to like proliferate that and make more kindness and show that it still exists, and live in that. And the purpose behind the show and manufacturing these things is to simply inspire a greater movement of kindness from other people. And I think like even if you like, even if I could agree with you and say, yeah, you're right, he's manufacturing a need that doesn't exist and stealing somebody else's kindness, like that could be true within yoga philosophy, but then wouldn't it also be true that the ripple effect outweighs that stealing of kindness?
So when I first watched the show, that was exactly how I approached it. I was like, oh, this is great. This guy's exemplifying kindness. He's like projecting that out into the world, and just like, ripple effect, all of that. So I approached the show not expecting to have any criticism of it. And then I continued watching it, hoping that maybe he would balance his asteya, or his steya. So the means not,
Yeah.
so not stealing. So to balance his steya, I kept watching, and he kind of does, because sometimes he will give I don't remember if he gives like a bunch of money or whatever the big gift
He did a
is
bunch of
for
different
the
things.
person. Okay, so yeah, whatever the big gesture he does for specific people, sure, that like undoes it with that circumstance, and like those encounters I have no problem with. But it's all of the people he doesn't do that for. Like, there's an imbalance there. He's still taking. So okay, I'll play devil's advocate. Let's say though, he does have this great ripple effect, and his show gets so many views, and it encourages kindness and incites kindness and people everywhere and all of that. Then yes, I would be able to, because yoga knows that everything is a balance, and you have to balance ahimsa with satya, and you have to balance tapas with ahimsa, and all of this. So in the same way, that how do you balance asteya? Maybe you would balance. So I would have to figure out like what is the good that comes from that. Is it more ahimsa? Is it
Well,
that
can I just tell
it
you,
encourages ahimsa in everyone else?
it does. In
I
fact,
just don't know that it does, though.
well, it did on me. For instance, I actually heard him on a podcast before anything else. And so that, and the reason that I bring that up first is because he's doing these podcasts, and doing like speaking events. So that could be part of the giving back. Like, he might be, like he might be taking it from here, but he's way over replenishing it over here.
Okay, but like, what about there though? What about the people there though?
But that person wouldn't have like given the way that they did give. And I watched it, like I didn't see a singular instance in which there was a person who felt like they needed to give because, or was being forced to give. Like every single person that he asked.
But if he hadn't put himself there, then they would not have less than they do after he left.
But what about the concept of when you give, you have more? So like, what if he's actually like in being of service to people is a selfish act, and like doing things for other people is actually a selfish act because it makes you feel good. Like the reason that I volunteer to go do service hours for people, or like the reason that I help somebody like figure out a money problem, or like loan money to my friend or something like of that nature, is because of a selfish reasoning, because like it makes me feel good to be of service to other people. So like for instance, like I saw these people that he was asking from, and every single one of them said that the reason why they wanted to give was because it was selfish. Like they were giving to him because it made them feel better than what they were losing. Like they were happily giving this because the feeling that they got afterwards was actually better than having whatever they gave to him.
I think ultimately I would still argue that he could do exactly that show and not leave people in debt. And I use the term debt very generally.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it is that they gave him, even if it's just their time, and energy, like they're indebted to him in some way. There's a way to do that show and exhibit kindness without leaving people in debt. Like he is causing himsa, just like he could do exactly the same show without leaving people in debt, whether it's that with every single person he encounters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he does a nice gesture for afterwards or whatever it is. Like there's just it's just the way that he did the show. The concept of the show I have no problem with. The application of it is poor because he leaves people indebted to him. And
I can respect that opinion.
That's
He
all.
actually also has a book. It's called Go Be Kind, and it's Go Be Kind 28 and a half adventures that will make you happier. And for instance, I'm on like adventure number 8, and it's go up to 3 random people and ask them if you can have a conversation with them about kindness. And you ask them like, what does kindness mean to you? When was the last time you felt alone? And there's another one, and then like a funny question, and then you ask them if they want to hear your answers, and you just do that to like 3 random people. And then one of them before was give like 5 genuine compliments to random people that will make their day. Like not, oh, your hair looks pretty, but for instance, I went up to a person who works in a ambulance, an EMT, and I said thank you so much for your service. And like he was like, wow, dude, like thank you so fucking much, like that kind of thing. But that it's just interesting that this one man has inspired. Like think about that. If I, based because of what he told me to do with this book, I went and I made 5 other people's days. That kind of spread of kindness, that's some fucking ripple effects, man. That's just a cool concept, like separate from everything else we were talking about. Like that's really cool. I really like him. I appreciate your opinion though, for sure. Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm not trying to undermine like the core of what he's doing. I'm saying he's doing it poorly.
That's fair. That's super fair. Okay, so I told you I was gonna have a couple surprise questions for you. One of them, I believe you already answered, but I'd like your personal take on it. And actually, right before this, I thought of a third one just for you because I thought it would be a good answer. I would get a good answer. So my first question to you is, what does success mean to you? What is the definition of success? Like to you personally, separate from logo philosophy, if that's even possible for you to do.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. I don't have a picture of what that looks like.
Yeah.
I have, and because my brain works in pictures, it's hard to even answer the question when I don't have a picture. So I'm trying to give you an answer. I mean, really, it's just to embody this. It's to embody everything I just told you that I practice. And
it's like the ultimate pursuit.
That, sorry?
It's like the ultimate pursuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's the point. And then in doing that, I don't believe that life has like an end goal. Like there's not something I'm going for. It's just, this is how to do life. This is how to successfully do life. So I'm going to successfully do life by following these rules.
Bam. Mic drop. I like that. That's a good answer. Okay. So the second one you've kind of answered already, but if it's possible, maybe from like a personal experience, personal opinion, as separate from yoga philosophy as possible, what does enlightenment mean to you?
I can't separate that from yoga philosophy.
That's fair. That's why I said if. That's cool. So I guess you've already told us maybe a personal version of the yoga philosophy. Like
so like what, like a colloquial kind of like enlightenment is, not like the actual state of samadhi?
Yeah, like just as on a personal level, like in your heart, like what does it mean to you?
I think that's the same as the last question. I think enlightenment and success would be the same concept for me.
Excellent. That's cool. I appreciate that. That's one of the reasons that I'm asking these 2 questions is I'm seeing how many people say that. It's 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 people so far have said that. That's good.
The same
I like
thing.
it.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. Success and enlightenment are the same thing. But it's also really interesting. Like my best friend, he gave me like the most analytical, non-spiritual answers to both of those questions. It was very interesting, and I appreciated the different take on it because he's also a spiritual person, so it was a really interesting like take. I'm super excited to see what happens when I compile all of these answers together. Okay, and this what's up?
I was just going to ask, is that going to be in another podcast?
What?
His answers.
Yes, his answers will be in another podcast. This is episode number 3, and that was episode number 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Just
Yeah.
because I'll have to listen.
Yes, I'll put it out there. And third question that I came up with just for you is, what is the biggest thing that one person, what is the biggest singular thing that one person can do to make the world a better place, to change the world?
Singular thing is a funny concept.
Oh, okay.
Because
Enlighten me.
because you could say that like practicing ahimsa is a singular thing.
Mhm.
Yeah?
Yeah,
But you can't practice ahimsa without practicing tapas and svadhyaya
yeah,
or satya.
yeah.
Like it's all, you can't practice one singular thing. So the one thing that a person would do to change the world yoga. Because truly, and I know that sounds like a flippant answer, but it's not. That was a very thoughtful answer, because what yoga means is to embody these principles.
Mhm. Right.
So that's the singular thing.
I think I agree with you. I think my opinion is the same in just different words. Because for me, it's to be the change that you would like to see in the world through giving 110% undivided attention in everything that you do through self-discipline.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing.
Good tapas.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really cool. And I think it ties into this overwhelming idea of like, the only thing that you have control over in this whole universe is yourself, your actions, your thoughts, your mind, and your body. And as soon as people fucking realize that and start taking care of themselves and stop yelling at each other, then I think we'll be in a way better place.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, it has been 2 hours, 35 minutes. It was a wonderful conversation, and it was wonderful to meet you. I really appreciate it.
Great to
Chanel.
meet you too.
Hey, cool.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Thank you. So 110% undivided attention in everything that you do, all day, every day. Bird King out, baby. Let's go. You have a good one. Actually, I'm going to do namaste at this.
Namaste.
Namaste. Till